Okay, I got the red smoke.
Gun runs north to south, west of the smoke, west of the smoke.
Okay, copy. West of the smoke. I'm looking at danger close now.
Come on with it, baby. Give it to me. I need it. Get cleared hot.
Copy, cleared hot.
All right, Brigham, tell me all the fucking secrets that RFK and Tulsi told you that you're not allowed to say. Let's just begin.
I love it. I love it. You know what's wild is, so Tulsi was a patient and a client, and she's become a friend.
At Ways?
At Ways to Well.
Yep.
And I met her through trying to help her out with some knee injuries and some stuff from all of her training.
Yeah.
And she's a beast, man. She doesn't stop.
Yeah.
And so we treated her with some stem cell treatments and then became friends. And this was maybe 2 years ago. There was a day I was just sitting there bitching, like I do often, about all the dumb ass shit the FDA was doing and why they were doing it, and how the reasons had nothing to do with safety or efficacy and everything to do with industry. And Tulsi looked me dead in the eye and said, "You got to get political. I know you don't want to hear that, but you're going to have to start talking to policymakers, because Brigham, people drive policy, not politicians. And if you raise the voice of the people, it will influence the politicians, which will influence the policy. And if you want to fix this, you're going to..." And then it's the
Was
weird...
that before or after her current role?
Yeah, it was definitely before her current role.
Yeah. She's behind the blue curtains that are sitting behind us. Not physically, metaphorically, obviously. I wonder if she even knew what she was getting into.
I don't think there's any way.
Like, do you walk into the office
one
the first
funny
day?
story she told me is that her and RFK went to lunch like a month into this deal, and we're just sharing war stories about, like, are you dealing with this shit too? And like, it's just the deep state is real. Like, this isn't conspiratorial shit. I can systematically show you in healthcare. I don't have line of sight into the DOD and in the DOJ and the FBI and all of that, but even there, I've got some crazy stories about the DOJ and its collusion with big insurance. Crazy stories.
Do you think it all comes back to money?
100%.
Today's episode is brought to you by Black Rifle Coffee. My hair is brought to you by My Pillow early this morning. Styled by Vidal Sassoon, if you will. Let's head over to Black Rifle Coffee's website. It's my favorite thing to do. Let's see what they have. Boom. Right. Navy. 250-year anniversary bag. Let's go back to that, because this bag... This is part of their ECS. This picture, actually, you know what? That's different than the one that I got, or perhaps that's on the back. I am loving the way these ECS bags are designed. Man, they're playing with some metallic colors. And all I'll say is this. If you do get this bag, come over here to this little F-18 and just maybe take a look at where they would normally paint the call sign for the pilot. So you could get that, the 250-year anniversary of the Navy. And they got a fall product drop. I think we went through that last time. Is there anything else on this? Nope. So it's just those two things. Some limited time roasts here of pumpkin spice. It is of the season, I've been told. Maple pecan roast, the pumpkin spice K-Cups for those of you who like a Keurig, and the maple pecan K-Cup. So the two roasts here with the Keurig options. Like I said, we have the ECS or exclusive coffee subscription. A bunch of new fall releases. Dictator Geisha, oh my goodness, is back. If you like Geisha coffee, you need to get some of this right now. I actually didn't know that this was back. I'm going to buy some of this. This stuff is good. Very limited quantities. And here you can sign up for a coffee subscription so you can get what you want delivered where you want, when you want. Sure, it's kind of the same thing, sticker and the ECS like I already talked about. If you're interested in that stuff, where do you go? You head over to blackriflecoffee.com. They're going to have all your coffee needs. Start thinking about Christmas. I know, it's that close. Things to make coffee in, drink coffee out of, apparel, you name it. Start thinking ahead. Stocking stuffers. blackriflecoffee.com. Back to the show.
God. Unfortunately, 100%.
When do you think that started? Do you think that started? I mean, I don't know what they were using for currency. Probably not cavemen, because they didn't have, but like the Roman Empire, right? Like gold or like coins. As soon as that started and there were things that were considered, oh, this shiny thing is worth more than this less shiny thing. Was that the end of it, essentially? Yeah. And then people started acting in the interest of those shiny things and what you could buy with that, or the position or the influence. Because, I mean, nowhere near the experience you have. I hosted a guy not too long ago named Chris. And he started in finance, and then he's working on basically private healthcare to detach people from this ridiculous healthcare system that he unpacked. Everything from like the way that the pharmacy sits and the kickbacks. And I'm like, what?
Yeah. Breaking
Down the Affordable Care Act, how there was many more providers, and now there's like 3 or 4, and they're offshored and they're corporate entities. So and like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
And nobody knows about this stuff. But you go, okay, why does that happen? It's not for better healthcare for people. It's not to treat people any better from a healthcare practitioner perspective. They're just trying. Their number is more.
Yeah,
that's it.
Well, and that's the problem. And I when I testified in front of the Senate after Tulsi told me to get political, I went and testified in front of the U.S. Senate, and it was like a nuanced approach to healthcare or something, the chronic disease of Americans. And I sat there and I told senators, you're going to hear time and time again, the healthcare system's broken. The healthcare system's broken. I want to be abundantly clear. It's not broken. It's rigged. And we're the ones fitting the bills.
That's a different delineation for sure.
And it's more than money. We're fitting the bills in human life and human capital. We are viewed as a commodity to be traded by industry. And we can go all the way back. The other thing I said in that I was wrong on is all of our institutions have been corporately captured. And the reason I say I'm wrong is now, a year later, jump forward, and having gotten behind the scenes of government, what I've learned is all of these entities were born in captivity. They were never free to begin with. If we go all the way back to the foundation of the FDA, the predecessor was founded in 1906. Okay, they created this as to fight for the American people and help protect us against basically tainted meat. That was the main gist. Okay. Meat packing factories weren't following any sort of code of conduct or manufacturing good practices.
In 1906? Yeah, that checks.
And they're selling like tainted, soiled meat to people. Instantly,
I can see that.
Guess who comes out of the woodworks? Big Pharma and Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola lobbies to make sure they put somebody in place over the act, over this bill that was the predecessor to the FDA, to make sure that they didn't have to remove cocaine from Coke, that they didn't have to remove opioids from toothpaste. We were literally systematically getting Americans addicted to toothpaste, pain creams, tonics that were supposed to help with sleep. Well, those tonics were really opioids and sleep aids that were addictive, and they didn't want to take that out. So it took years of, even at that time, of American outrage to mandate a label change, which is what we're still living today. I literally testified at the state level for a month against big chemical, big ag, big pharma on label changes in the state of Texas. And I'm like, are we still living this? This is what was going on in 1906 when they were fighting, disclosing that they had cocaine in Coke.
Did we miss out that we didn't live in the cocaine Coca-Cola era?
I know we might.
And the opium and toothpaste? We might have better dental care.
Yeah.
Or people brushing. I mean, I'm not advocating for this. I'm just thinking outside of the box. Yeah, what was it?
People were probably brushing their teeth 3-4 times a day
I'm
consistently.
Saying great breath,
just to keep a buzz.
Yeah, or the. What was the show? Tombstone, with Wyatt Earp. And it's, again, not a historical movie, but his wife at the time was addicted to, like, I need some more laudanum. I just have a cough, and it's just straight opium in that bottle.
Yeah.
People are just juiced to the gills. Here's the question I bounce up against. Do you think it's fixable? If these industries and entities and departments were born in captivity, is it possible to detach them from the system we have in place?
I think that's the challenge we're facing now. And I think that's the challenge you're seeing with RFK. Look at the overwhelm. I mean, I don't know if you've been watching what's been going on.
They're coming after him. They basically,
if
he's sitting right here, they pulled up every battleship they can find and we're just like, brrrt.
And what's crazy, even that, like, let's look at the CDC. The CDC was founded during World War II. It was founded to help shut down the spread of malaria. The first big decision the CDC made was to partner with Monsanto and douse everything we know in DDT, which is now a known carcinogen.
Yeah, historically not. I remember seeing black and white videos of that, people standing in the streets and the clouds just being.
We chased those fucking trucks in the 80s. I grew up in the suburbs and we chased mosquito trucks on our bikes. We rode in the mist. If anyone's getting Hodgkin's lymphoma, it's going to be me.
Well, at least you have access to some cutting edge healthcare.
Yeah.
Maybe you can get in front of that, recognize it, and find some treatments that are other than a prescription bottle.
And that's where I go to, like, it is going to be an uphill battle because as you dig in the layers to the onion, right?
Yeah.
These are true stories. They sound so ridiculous. Do you know to this day the CDC's headquarters, this multi-million-dollar giant building, was given to them by Coca-Cola? Okay, and then there's
Why is that even
emails.
allowed?
There's
How can that be
emails,
allowed?
yeah, and then there's emails in the 80s. You can't make this shit up. There are literally in FOIA request documents now leaked emails or not emails, letters in the 80s of the head of the CDC telling Coca-Cola, I'm going to do all I can to basically protect you from this diabetes debacle that we're seeing that sugar could be correlative to diabetes. And so these industries, these regulatory bodies are captured. And then you go to the EPA, same thing. 4 out of the last 6 heads of the EPA went to go work for who? Monsanto.
Yeah.
One of the largest chemical conglomerates in the world, one of the most evil empires, I would argue. These are the people who created Agent Orange. These are the people who created DDT.
And they have a lock on seed technology, like all sorts of stuff. I mean, they have not only do they have a capture on that entity, but they have a capture on a lot of agriculture as well too.
And farmers are terrified of them. The
Well, yeah,
farming and
because
agriculture community.
they will get obliterated in
Yes.
court. You're not going to fight Monsanto in court.
Yeah.
They'll just be like, hey, get 15 lawyers and just do 10 years of lawsuits, and I don't care what it costs.
And one of the
Grind
things
them into
I've been
dust.
trying to ring the bell on to make people aware, because we talk about national security. The state of Texas banned this Chinese agrochemical company, and so did, I think, 3 other states, because we didn't want Chinese chemicals being sprayed on all of our farm products. That makes total logical sense. But what they're not seeing is that Monsanto is not an American company, and Monsanto buys 100% of its chemicals from China.
God.
100% of the ingredients come from China. So we're literally putting our entire agricultural system in the hands of a potential enemy. I mean, that's terrifying to think.
I don't even know if I would call it potential anymore. I hosted another podcast called Change Engines with a production company called Ironclad, and I've done a series of episodes just kind of talking about China. The last one was with 2 guys who lived in China. It was interesting. One of them was the first guy to be uploading YouTube videos from China before they said, no, none of this. Then he was actually relatively tech savvy, so he worked his way around it with early VPNs. And let's see, 24 years combined between the 2 of them. They were both expats. One was South America. The other guy was, I think, from Philadelphia, of all places. Learned to speak Chinese, started a motorcycle club together, rode all through China. Apparently motorcycles are banned in some large Chinese cities. They want no part. It's like a sign of poverty. They're like, get out of here with your trash motorcycle.
Oh, wow.
But they told this whole narrative of, it seemed as if China had this, it was a shift post Xi Jinping coming in. But they were talking about he was able to upload to begin with. Then he started getting visits from, state-sponsored people knocking on the door, police. They were able to get around it. And then they eventually got to a point where they needed to leave. Both had married Chinese citizens at the time. They're living with their family here. But they're talking about it. The amount of money that China is spending on trying to push out complete false messaging of, hey, we are open. We're trying to be the good trading partner. We are, we want to be part of this global. It's all propaganda. Mm-hmm. Then he was talking about one of their episodes. He just translated a children's book that is taught in their schools. And it basically was, the West is your enemy. These people are the root of all problems that we've ever had. Our goal is to destroy them. And I'm paraphrasing largely at this point, but we're hitting the – so there's the propaganda message, but then there is actually what is being taught and indoctrinated. And, I mean, these guys lived there for 24 combined years. They're fluent. It was awesome to talk to them. And now their whole YouTube channel is just dispelling Chinese propaganda. They are they're diametrically opposed to the West in what we do. I think we can take them out of they may be an enemy bucket, regardless of what you're seeing on TikTok. Research who owns that, by the way, people.
Yeah.
They're a peer-to-peer adversary. They're not an ally by any stretch.
Yeah.
So, why would we – and it goes farther. Why do we allow China to buy property around military bases? I asked them that too, and they just started laughing. They said, you should try to, as a foreign entity, buy property in China. No.
Yeah.
Not happening.
Well, and you go back to the drones over New Jersey. Nobody still told us what those were. I don't know if you have your thoughts, but
I mean, I always have thoughts, whether or not they're reasonable.
yeah. Because I know the UFO whistleblower, David Grush, and Dave Grush was, at the time, was saying, my gut says it's China, and that we won't say it's China because if we do, that would be a declaration of war for them to be flying with impunity over U.S.-controlled airspace and a sign of weakness to the American people.
How would those drones have gotten to
I don't
you?
know. That's where it's tricky. They were coming off the ocean is what they
could have
would
been
say.
deployed on a boat. My guess is it probably was military tech, to be honest.
Okay.
There are military exercises. I'll give you an example. When I was I spent a short amount of time at an East Coast command, and we would do training called RUT, Realistic Urban Training. And we would fly with the 160th, and I participated. I tagged along. After I had left there, the squadron I was with was up in L.A., and so I tagged along. We're flying blacked out helicopters at an altitude over L.A. where it's setting off car alarms. No lights. I mean, actually, no, L.A. is probably not the best example because I'm sure the people living there are like, God, they're filming another goddamn movie. But you could have, if there was this would have been an amazing shot. You could have followed the helicopters just because of the alarms going off. So it would have been like this dark spearhead of this wave of car flashing lights. But they do those in a bunch of cities, and the 911 networks light up. Hey, we're being invaded, this, that, or the other. And so I'm not saying that's what was going on up there, but I physically have been in places on training exercises where the locals freak out a little bit, and they're never told exactly what's going on. They'll be like, hey, it's a training exercise. It's like, yeah, that is. Mind you, we're like blowing up stuff and doing live fire munitions training inside of your abandoned buildings that we're telling nobody about. So
Wild.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
and the pilot, I mean, I'm looking off the side of these helicopters like, is this safe? Like, how good are your night vision goggles? Like, can you really see wires that might be strung across here? So it's gnarly. Nobody knows what's going on, and the military never tells them. So I'm not saying that's what it was, but I could see that being what it was. And I have thought about the China thing, but the issue is, and I thought about it was, well, how do you get them here? Like in Ukraine, where they used drones to attack the Russian planes, they had to put them in trucks to a level that they could fly autonomously. Because you're not crossing the Atlantic.
Yeah.
That would be a battery technology that would be, I mean, Elon needs to talk to them if they have that level of battery technology, because from what I hear.
Well, they were saying, a large amount of witnesses were saying these drones were coming off the ocean.
Maybe a sub. I could see. I don't know if you can launch drones off.
That's.
A sub.
I just thought that was it. And then what are your thoughts? I don't want to.
Go for it.
I'm also.
I got tinfoil. Do you want to wrap ourselves in it? So,
because of our mutual friend Joe, I've gotten to meet a lot of these whistleblowers, and one of the other guys that I had the opportunity to have dinner or at an event have dinner with is Commander Fravor.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're familiar with his story.
I am, and I want it all to be true.
Yeah.
I actually think for humanity, if they said aliens are real, and even though we think we're the most important entity on this little speck of the universe, I actually think it would probably recalibrate and do good things for humanity if we knew we weren't alone and we weren't the most technologically advanced of whatever it is that is out there. But I need one of these fuckers to bring me a piece of evidence.
Yeah.
I know a guy who saw a thing for sure. I'm like, cool. I like where your head's at. I want it to be true.
Yeah.
I need a little bit
Commander
of evidence.
Fravor was telling us, just for perspective, this was, I think, 2002 or 2003. I mean, 20-something years ago.
Yeah.
And what he encountered moved at over 35,000 miles per hour with all of his analytics.
Yeah.
With all the data in the cockpit and all their cross-referencing. They had visual confirmation of a tic-tac-like object that had no known signs of propulsion or heat signature.
Yep.
And he was explaining if this was a military exercise, like people say, it sits on some of our Black Ops programs.
But it still hasn't been released, and we've had iterations of
and
that
that's
stuff.
where his thing is. Like, still to this day haven't seen anything that comes close to what we encountered that day. And then the creepiest of all, because this is a very pragmatic guy, right?
Yeah.
This is he's rigid. He's not even saying it's aliens. He's saying, I don't know what the hell it was. I'm just telling you what I saw.
Yeah.
Moved at 35,000 miles an hour, was transmedium, went from space to air to ocean. and evaded our best and brightest fighter pilots in our F-22s, I think is what it was.
No, probably back then F-14s probably, or F-18s was cutting edge.
And
14s were tailing off the Top Gun 1, and the F-18s I think were in service at that point.
And he said the creepiest of all was it knew their set point. And I didn't know what that means because I'm a layman. And he's like, that's in our head. That's not in the computer, if I'm understanding correctly. That's just in your head. So how would this Tic Tac know their set point?
I don't know. I want it to be true so deeply. Here's another thing too I think about. If this technology, entity, whatever it is, if they have the ability to travel through space and time and they can get here, why do they crash so much? Right? Like there's something a little bit off there as well. Like we get to Earth and all of our ability to navigate through space and time at light speed, we lose all that and we start crashing, usually by trailer parks. I don't And again, I want it to be true. Because I listened to some of the testimony and they'll talk about covered programs or read-in programs and all these things, and that stuff's all real. And I get that there is a risk to disclosure and somebody coming forward, but that is the one piece that is missing is an actual piece of demonstrable data that says, hey, this is the tech I saw, and oh, by the way, here's a tile from the ship. And I'm just going to leave that there, and you can go ahead and turn that over to scientists. That's what would get people to flip. Yeah. And God, I want it to be real.
Gary Nolan from Stanford University, he does have a piece of metal that was given to him.
Have
supposedly.
You seen it?
No,
nobody has that.
But he says it was a CIA meeting. They asked him to analyze it, and if that's true, and then he broke down.
But here's the thing:
he broke down the energy capacity required to move at 35,000 miles per hour and be able to go, and it's like more than the U.S. generates in a year or something to that nature. And he's like, how would that? And you're burning that?
Yeah.
What? Just fucking around over the ocean? Like, how would that be
doing donuts in a parking lot?
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. I can see the agency sowing a deep misinformation campaign, because if you want somebody who's super credible, if you want to challenge that, what do? You give them some really shitty information that can prove to be demonstrably false, and then they're done. Right? Mm-hmm. Not that our government would ever do that.
Yeah. No way.
I love you, government.
No way.
I used to work for the government, and now I won't mention the person's name, but I was hanging out with him recently. I'll tell you offline. You may not know him, but he's awesome. Also worked for the government for over 20 years. And he essentially said his goal in life now is to die in prison at 70 for enabling civilians to be so free that the government locks him up.
That's so wild.
To which I responded, have you run this goal by your wife?
Yeah.
And he said, no. And I said, you might want to do that.
Yeah.
So she may not share a parallel path to where you're trying to get. But yeah, I mean,
I think the reason I've become I don't want to say a conspiracy theorist, was because I've seen the reality in healthcare. And right before we hopped on the podcast, I was telling you what I've seen in healthcare and the level of collusion, corporate capture, corruption, just fuckery. I don't even know how else to say it. All around fuckery.
It's a technical
is
term.
mind-boggling. And so if that's happening with fucking drugs in our healthcare system, I cannot imagine what's happening with our military-industrial complex and all of our, military might and these contractors and black ops programs.
People can just Google when was the last time the DoD passed an audit.
Yeah.
And money is an interest. I had very little insight into this. Money is a very interesting thing. And I only had, again, I'm not an expert at like the DoD at a policy level and a budget level, but at a tactical level, at a smaller unit, there are ways where it almost seems like you have an unlimited budget because you can fund things through line items. Like if you bump up against a budgetary roadblock, hey, we want to get this, and it's so funny. Some of these things are based off of credit card limits. Like if it's $9,999, you're good. If it's $10,000, nope, you need a different line item or a different way to purchase it. This is like the cutting edge tip of the spear. Yeah. Organizations having purchases kicked back because the credit card purchase was too high.
Nuts.
Things we're talking the most high speed dudes. Like we need to get this. Like, ooh, yeah, how much? $10,001. It's gonna be a problem. Like, okay, if I could get them to knock 2 cents off, or we get there, like, oh, absolutely. Like we'll have it's mission essential equipment. You'll have it immediately. I'm like, okay. But if you bump up against that, or your budget is running dry in this area, At a certain level, there's a guy on a keyboard who can hit buttons and, oh, well, where were you guys going to use this gear? Okay, well, there's a different bucket of money over here, so we'll attach it to this so your purchase is good. You're going to use it over here in this theater, maybe, or you're training for this theater. Let's attach it to this line item. So it doesn't surprise me that the DoD has never passed a budget. But for me, as somebody, I bet you feel the same way, as somebody who pays taxes, I'd be fascinated to know where my tax dollars go. Yeah. I'd be fascinated to be able to vote. Be like, I want 100% of my tax dollars to go to the DoD. Not that that would work, because we'd have some really weird programs that people wanted to get behind. But yeah. Wouldn't it be cool to know where our money actually goes? Because the government has proven we're not a steward of our money. You've got line of sight, and this is something I wanted to, and I don't mean this disparagingly. I just mean it as the mission was incredible. What these men did. Mm-hmm. What I'm referring to is that the bombs the bunker busters we dropped on Iran. Mm-hmm. But I look at that and I go, wait a second. Are you telling me that let's just theoretically play this framework out. If you're the guy who says, oh, the Tic Tac is most likely a U.S. Black Ops program. Okay. You're telling me that we have the ability to travel at 35,000 miles per hour in 2003 and evade our F-16 Raptors or whatever they were at the time, mm-hmm. but we still have pilots, flown fucking 30-year-old technology flying across the ocean in diapers. Microwavable TV dinners on the way.
That is crazy to me. And the accomplishment of those men and what they pulled off, highly impressive.
Yep.
But where are all of our taxpayer dollars going, and that's our best option? In my mind, I was just thinking, we got some super secret drone that flies at high altitude and is there in 5 minutes and drops a bunker buster and it's out of there before anyone even knows it's there. Or is that the cover story? I hate to take any credit from anyone. I'm just saying, as a citizen, I look at that and go, that's crazy if that's the best we've got all these years later. Because we're talking about 30-year-old technology and guys in diapers.
Yeah. I mean, well, as long as we have humans in the loop, right? And this is one of the conversations about AI. Humans in the loop, humans on the loop, humans watching the loop, humans working for robots for their water ration, which is how I think that will go. I keep telling people the movie Terminator is going to end up being a documentary, and we're all going to look back. Like,
James Cameron literally said a few weeks ago in an interview, I told you motherfuckers. Did you see that?
How dumb will we be in 30 years? Like, we tried to tell you. Yeah. We made 6, or however many they made now. We made 8 of these things to try to warn you. I do think it's the best that we had for that solution. Yeah. I mean, from my understanding, the reason that we dropped those is that we had the only aircraft capable of carrying that particular size of weapon. Okay. And it was the B-2. Yeah, and I say that because, I mean, they were able to determine, like, you can't really track those things. I'm not an expert on radar, but people watched the movement of that hardware going all over the place. And then they can also reverse engineer the damage that they saw, the penetration, and it's going back to conventional munitions. Yeah, you'd think, right? If 2003, it was the U.S. military that was hiding this tech that could do that, you would have a time warp over there and shoot a laser beam through the dirt and destroy all this stuff.
Well, that's where my mind's at, because I'm also told, and again, I don't know, I'm not military background, but like, we can see a tick on the ass of a deer from a satellite nowadays.
That's a little bit more movie stuff, I think. I'm a little bit out of the game.
Because if radar seems like it would be a thing of an antiquated technology in another 5 years at the pace we're moving.
Yeah.
And you would be reliant on satellite intel, optics.
Satellite isn't that great. The better footage. So satellite imagery, it all comes down to the resolution. You know, at satellite, you can get like 1 meter imagery on satellite, which is good, but lower flying UAVs are actually better. You can keep pixelate, you know, for a movement almost everybody recognizes now, you could keep scrolling in. Mm-hmm. Have you ever had a moment where you're reading like a magazine and you tried to scroll in on the picture? I'm embarrassed that I was reading something. That's how habituated we are as monkeys.
You're so used to an iPad.
I wanted to see the picture better. And on a physical book, this has only happened once, but I'll just be honest, and this is how dumb I am. I wanted to see the picture better, and I more than once did that before I realized that I've been completely trained by these stupid devices.
That's so wild.
It didn't work, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, so UAV imagery is probably going to be, from a resolution perspective, way better. But I haven't looked at military grade sat imagery for coming close to 2 decades at this point. It might be better, but it's also not always overhead. We have a bunch of ISR platforms like Predators, Reapers, even aircraft that have sensors underneath. You'll get better imagery that way. A tick on a deer's ass. I mean, I've seen stuff where you could see like game trails and you can find animals, and if it's well footprinted out, you could see that. But that's a little bit probably closer to like Jason Bourne movies. Okay. I wish that shit was real.
Yeah.
Trust me, all of this cool stuff, I wish it was real.
Yeah.
I just have never seen it. Hope maybe there's some super top secret Black Ops unit out there that is only using that stuff.
I don't think there is if we're using diapers and flying across the ocean.
Low tech works. Diapers, you know? We put them on geriatrics. Why can't we put them on pads? Well, first off, hurry up and solve the problem of aging. What's taking you so long?
Yeah. Well, so I think this is an interesting topic. I do think, so one of my mentors and friends and the individual who's taught me everything I know about stem cells and biologic is Dr. Ian White. Okay. A brilliant man, 22 years at the bench, Harvard professor, and Sare Stem Cell Institute, on the truly cutting edge. And I've said this before. If you want to know the future of medicine, you don't talk to a doctor. Doctors inherit what the PhDs at the bench develop.
What is the bench? What do you mean by that?
The scientists doing the research at the bench in the lab, doing the studies on mice. Okay. These are the guys truly on the cutting edge and the fringe. And most of what makes it into modern day medicine is 20 to 30-year-old medicine. Most of the medications, and I can give you real world examples. We were using GLP-1 weight loss drugs 8 years ago.
For type 2 diabetes, right?
Yeah, and now it's commonplace in academia and primary care, and every primary is writing it as a weight loss drug. GLP-1s and all of these peptides are short-chain amino acids found naturally in nature, and we can synthesize them really quick. So if we see something that's advantageous, we can synthesize, compound it, and utilize it. Now, there's a difference between being FDA approved and working.
Yeah.
All the FDA approval process means is you spent, hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. I think it's now, I don't even remember the number. It's so staggering. However many hundreds of millions of dollars to bring a drug to market. But that is by design. And as you dig into the history of the FDA, what you learn is industry influenced the FDA to build a moat around accessibility to care. And now the big 5 pharmaceutical cartels essentially control when, where, and how a peptide or a drug reaches the market. And then what they're trying to do today, and I systematically try to break this down for people, is ban all peptides. They're lobbying the FDA to ban all peptides.
On what basis? Because I've heard GLP-1 stuff now, people are using this. Obviously, they're being used off-label for the weight loss. If you look at it as a type 2 diabetes, I'm seeing research of the neuroprotective benefits of that, differences in Alzheimer's.
Yep.
At a smaller dosage than weight loss, which I don't know the dosage for weight loss, but a lot of people who seem to be pushing the boundaries they can't necessarily articulate why, but that's the impact that they're seeing.
Yeah.
It seems to be
because a lot
impactful.
If you look at all of the chronic health issues that have boomed in America, a lot of it is traced back to the 80s when we moved to ultra processed foods. And that's one component. Yeah. And then, obviously the way we farm and microplastics and everything's in a plastic bottle. We now know that we have the equivalent to a plastic spoon worth of microplastics in our brain. 5% of the human brain by volume in America is now microplastics.
Awesome.
These are real fucking numbers.
Can you get that stuff out?
You can get some microplastics out, and we actually that's one of the things we do at Ways to Well. So like my buddy Philip Franklin Lee, have you met Philip?
No.
He's a big time chef.
Okay.
And he's nationwide, but Philip came in, we screened him, we identified that he had a lot of inflammation and different issues. He couldn't figure out what was going on. His microplastics level in his blood were sky high. It took us about 12 months to get his microplastics levels down, but it was through changes in his behaviors and diet, not drinking out of plastic bottles all the time, and then trying to run him through all of our protocols and procedures to help him flush that out. And now we can quantify that for him through his blood work that it's down.
How's
he
he
can
feeling?
physiologically feel the difference. He's like, dude, my cognition, my memory, all that brain fog is gone. My joint inflammation is gone.
Yeah.
And so I think one of the things that's happening is we had this boom in ultra processed foods, which led to a boom in chronic disease. And I'm not saying that all of these industries are colluding, but they're siloed and compartmentalized in a way that if I'm big industry and my business is to sell Alzheimer's meds, business is good. Right? I mean, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And everything you said about that gold, as soon as we moved to quarterly earnings and quarterly profits, and it became about hitting a quarterly earning and a quarterly number, it got away from saving a life, preventing a disease, driving health span, driving longevity.
That's what Chris said too when he was breaking down it just from a pharmaceutical perspective. They locked in the percentage that companies were allowed to basically make off of the monthly payments that people pay into it. So they're like, okay, we'll just fluff elsewhere. You want to lock us in at 15% or whatever it is? This is pure math. We'll just go on to the back end. Your prescription is now 8 times more than it used to be.
So what a lot of people don't understand, there's the big pharmaceutical cartel, okay, which if you take the 5 biggest pharmaceutical companies and you stack them up against the 5 biggest insurance companies, the insurance companies are almost 3 times the revenue a year of the big pharma conglomerates. They are killing it, literally and figuratively.
And is that just all
crushing it?
Premium payments essentially?
It's because they've now built in. So in the 80s, we established pharmacy benefit managers, and these PBMs were supposed to negotiate down the price of prescription drug care to make medicines affordable for us, for our grandparents, for our children, for our loved ones. What happened is those got captured by the big 5 insurance companies. Literally, the big 5 insurance companies went out, gobbled up the middlemen. They now own the PBMs. And rather than negotiating down the rate of prescription drugs, they negotiated up. And you go, well, wait a second. If they're paying the bill, why would they negotiate the rate up? Because they went to companies like Lilly, Pfizer, Glaxo, the big 5 pharma companies, and said, hey, instead of selling me insulin for $100, sell it to me for $600 and give me a $400 rebate.
The rebates, when he talked about that, I mean, I was listening to him. I'm like, this sounds bad. My brain exploded later in the day when I thought about it even more. What's horrible?
Because you've now aligned your insurance carriers to monetize and profiteer off of chronic disease.
Which puts people...
There's no money in preventative. They don't want the blood tests. They don't want the diagnostic tests. Because there's estimates, we don't know because of these exemptions these insurance companies have, but the estimates are anywhere from 30 to 40% of their revenue is coming from monetizing prescription drug care.
What that terminates in, my dad who's 78, he's an absolute nightmare. My sister's a nurse practitioner. She's, tries to help him with all sorts of stuff. He still to this day thinks he has stage 2 diabetes. That's how he describes it. My sister's like, no, your blood work shows you may be pre-diabetic. Meanwhile, he'll go into the coffee shop and crush a massive hot chocolate. I'm like, hey, bud.
That's my dad. My dad's the same.
We were having a conversation. She got him on using a small amount of testosterone cream, which he called tosterone. He was sitting in your seat trying to explain to me what she was prescribing to him, and I just had him keep repeating it. I'm like, say it one more time. He's like, yeah, the male hormone, tosterone. I'm like, what is it again? How do you spell that? I'm like, fuck, man. Help me help you. Whatever. He said, what that terminates in what you're talking about, these kickbacks and rebates, he was at a pharmacy. I think it's a Walgreens. Might be a CVS. And the woman in front of him broke down in tears because she could not afford the prescription that she needed. And I don't know exactly what it was. If she was broken down in tears, it wasn't an aspirin. Not that you need a prescription for that. But that's what that terminates in, is people who are relying on these things to sustain their life can't afford them anymore. For profit, fuck you.
Yeah. It's so dirty. It's so sinister. So we can bring it back. One of the biggest catastrophes that have happened in the last 20 years of medicine is the opioid crisis. It killed my brother. I lost my brother at 27 to opioids.
It sucks, man.
It killed so many fucking Americans. And to this day, it's just transferred into the fentanyl crisis.
How did he get onto, was it an injury?
He tore his ACL and ended
classic surgery recovery.
They gave him a bunch of opioids because this was in a time where everyone was handing out opioids.
Yeah.
And the craziest part of all of it, Andy, is I had started a pharmacy that was out educating doctors on not using opioids and using non-addictive, non-abusive opioid alternatives. And I would literally compound a topical pain cream that couldn't be abused that the patient could put on post-op. And I was telling doctors why this is so important. But what happened? The insurance company said, go fuck yourself. We're not going to cover pain creams. Put them on an opioid. It cost us $12 a month or whatever the number is, $50 a month. Yeah. What they didn't tell you is, we now know this through, again, FOIA documents, that a huge chunk, and all the legal documents of these lawsuits, a huge chunk of the revenue generated during the opioid crisis went to the insurance carriers themselves. Roughly 30% of every dollar made off of opioids was housed and profited at the insurance companies. So these companies were profiteering off of the addiction. The big pharmaceutical cartels were profiteering off the exemption. I'm sure you've covered this before, but the head of the FDA met with the Sackler family at a hotel to...
Actually, I don't think he was the head. He was the guy, the one individual that was responsible for signing it off.
Yeah, and he gave them the goose that laid the golden egg.
That was after a 72-hour stint at a hotel where nobody knows what happened. Oh, where did he go work again after he got out of the
18 months later, he went to go work for Purdue Pharma.
It's
nuts, man.
Well, what I do like, and I don't know if anything will come from this, because I know that the Sackler family had agreed to pay, it was billions in settlements, but then it got broken down. That was over an extended period of time. So the VIG that they were making off the money that they already had put aside was going to pay for the settlement, so it wasn't going to hurt them at all. But I believe a judge pierced in some way the family's personal holdings. And I forget what it was. Oh, I believe, was it bankruptcy? They were trying to hide billions of dollars in their own family's wealth so it wouldn't go to the victims. Mm-hmm. And again, I'm a little bit over my skis on this one, but I know that a judge ruled that, we're not doing that. I don't think anything has happened from that, but that's the first time I've ever heard of that veil being pierced like that. Maybe there'll be another 72 hours in a hotel room with a federal judge, and then it's just going to go away.
Yeah, if you go, what's nuts is this isn't the first time. The Sacklers created the Valium crisis of the 70s. They were already under congressional investigation in the 70s for the Valium crisis that they created.
Oxy saved that family. That Netflix doc, or not doc, it's close. What do they call that when it's based off true events, but they have actors portraying things? I want to say docuseries, but that's not right. We'll say it's fictional.
Yeah, I think
incredibly
they call it
accurate.
Like a fictional documentary.
It's like a Jack Card novel. It's fictional, but you're like, whoa, dude, that's incredibly accurate.
Yeah. And that problem is that's not the exception to the rule. That's the rule.
Norm.
Yeah, and so I think 10 out of the last 12 heads of the FDA went to work for industry. 4 out of the last 6 heads of the EPA went to go work for the chemical industry. Then you go to the CDC. I think there's 12 panelists that are over all of our vaccine schedules. Most of those are consultants for industry. We can go all the way back to look at the mental health crisis in America. We were talking about that a minute ago. Deaths of despair at an all-time high. Suicide, all-time high. Depression, anxiety, all-time high. We launched Prozac in North America at Eli Lilly because I was a drug rep. My very first job out of school was a drug rep. Eli Lilly did what the Sacklers did. They said, we are going to stop depression. Jump forward 30, 20-something years later, retrospectively, what do we see with the depression market and SSRIs? We have not made a dent at all. On a 52-point depression scale, SSRIs, every single one that ever hit the market, analyzed in their own data sets, fails to differentiate from placebo. Placebo scores 46. All the SSRIs combined score 48. Do you know what exercise scores? 5 times the efficacy of all the SSRIs combined.
Yeah, but you can't charge for that.
Yeah.
I guess you can in 24-hour fitness, but...
And here's where it gets even crazier. I've tried breaking this down for people. When people say trust the system, trust the science, believe in the system, the FDA wouldn't put something on the market that's dangerous. Okay. Out of 12 blockbuster drugs launched by Eli Lilly, I think 9 have black box warnings, the most egregious warning that
Is
you
that
can
like
get.
this might kill you on the box itself?
Yeah, 9 out of the 12 blockbusters for the last 20 years. Then you look at the depression market and you go, wait, how did we come up with this? I was taught it was a chemical imbalance in the brain. Anxiety, depression, ADHD are all chemical imbalances. There's not a single study. There's not a single autopsy. There's not a single brain scan. There's not a single blood test that verifies and confirms that. We have no way of knowing what's truly causing ADHD in children. We don't know. In fact, the diagnostic measuring stick was created for Ritalin, and it was created by a consultant for Ritalin. That's how we diagnosed ADHD to this day, okay? Then you go into depression. The depression scale was developed by Pfizer in an effort to sell more SSRIs. And that scale was developed by a Dr. Spitzer, who was a consultant for Pfizer all the way back into the 80s at the American Psychiatric Association. And then we look at the American Psychiatric Association, who backed all this, and we estimate in the 80s roughly 20 to 30% of their revenue was coming from the pharmaceutical companies that were asking them to push this narrative. And so our measuring stick was created by industry, perpetuated by industry. The story that it's a chemical imbalance in the brain is not quantifiable or factual. It was mythology that became dogma, that became fact. The same way testosterone was beaten out of the marketplace all the way back to the 1930s. When people say testosterone causes prostate cancer, that is absolutely, positively, factually incorrect and has been debunked.
It's showing now that it actually decreases your risk.
Bingo. And that study, you go, where did that study come from? It was one study in the 1930s.
Testosterone, but I know tosterone is definitely helping.
Yeah.
I made him say it 6 times, and he looked at me like
So
I was
funny.
the one with the dick growing out of my forehead.
My dad still's like, I don't want to get prostate cancer. I'm not. Your number one risk factor, if you're not, well, other than being a male, obviously, but the biggest risk factor you have for cancer, other than smoking, is obesity. Metabolic disease. It is the cascade effect that leads to everything else. So back to your question that started all this, when are we going to live forever? I think there's a lot of guys out there touting that, hey, I think we're going to be able to live to be 150 or this or that. Where I was going with it is there's brilliant minds like Dr. Ian White that believe within our genome, that don't even believe, that know we share a common ancestor with the eternal jellyfish that lives over 5,000 years and can replicate and rejuvenate itself. We share a common ancestor with the Greenland shark. Over 50% of our DNA is shared with the Greenland shark.
Really?
That doesn't have cancer rates and lives 600 years. The Galapagos tortoise lives over 200 years. We have those genetic codes in our body, and the question is, can we find them and activate them? It's within our genome.
Yeah.
At some point, one of these mad scientists are going to find that. So my thing is, at Ways to Well, can we buy you health span?
Yeah.
Can we buy you healthy, happy years of your life? And the answer is fuck yes. 100%.
That's all I want. I've had this conversation, it's an existential, do you want to live to 100? And at a surface level, you're like, that's an interesting question, but what do the last 15 years of my life look like?
Yeah.
Am I in assisted living? Do I have a walker? Because if you say for 15 years, your quality of life is going to be dog shit, but you'll hit 100. But at 85 years, you're out there living your best life, having experiences, still mobile with your kids, grandkids at that point. I'm going with the 85 all damn day long. Like the Jell-O and watching cartoons, hard pass. My dad has asked me to promise him, if he ever gets to that place, wheel him into oncoming traffic, to which I'm like, absolutely no problem. And my wife looks at me like, what in the actual fuck is wrong with you?
Jillian has one like that where she's like, the kids know, they know when mommy can't talk, pillow on face. When mommy, and she tells this story and I'm like dying laughing, but we know. So this is where I think I can quantify for people. And this is where we're taking a different nuanced approach to medicine that now is becoming commonplace. But 5 years ago, when I was going on Rogan talking about people paying cash for blood work, people are like, what the fuck are you talking about? I have insurance, dude. I'm not going to go get a blood test for nothing. For what? So you can tell me something's wrong? I don't want to know.
That is a way to live, I suppose. Wait until you're like, I actually can't get out of bed and I have this massive lump on my neck. That could be one way to live. Maybe look under the hood before the check engine light comes on.
That's my message. And now I do believe a large percentage of Americans, because of COVID, candidly, they don't trust the medical establishment and the academic establishment on these topics. And my thing is, the system is built. You've got to view insurance like car insurance. It's there if you total the fucking car. It's there when something catastrophic happens. If you are expecting your insurance to get proactive, predictive, and personalized, you're going to be sorely disappointed. And for a couple $100 a year, you can do a deep dive into your biomarkers. And beyond that, like what we're doing. So in a dream world, if we could do a full workup, it's cancer screening, where we can identify 200 types of cancer at stage 0. That's a 99% survival rate. I can tell you 7 years in advance if you have any signs of any forms of cancer.
Is that blood-based?
Blood-based.
Okay.
Over 200 different types of cancer. So check that box off. Secondly, DEXA and VO2 max. If I have your DEXA, I know your lean muscle mass, your visceral fat, your subcutaneous fat. I know your muscle mass. I know your bone mineral density. Now I can begin to build a business plan. Like in business, we establish a plan, right? I want to hit this quarterly earning. I know I need to be at this quarter, which means I've got to be at this growth rate per quarter. We know the decades of decline of the human body, and we know the average bone mineral density loss, and we can get proactive and predictive and build a strategy to preserve lean muscle, to preserve bone mineral density, to preserve our body's integrity, and to help keep your body healthy and happy. And then the rest is all coming down to biomarkers. You load it all into Alan, and the AI is now in your pocket 24/7, monitoring your REM sleep, your deep sleep, your heart rate variability, what date you started treatments, how those treatments are impacting you physiologically in real time. And then I think the future is going to be, you're not going to get a blood test. You're not going to go to a doctor. We're literally you're going to take a pill in the morning, and we're going to know your biomarkers, your insulin level
We're not
in
far
real
from
time.
that, man. Or like if you do get blood, it'll be a finger stick that's like, if we're still using USB-C at that. It's like you plug it into the bottom of your phone, do your stick, and it'll
100%.
wherever it goes. Do any of your scans require magnets? And I ask this selfishly because I have retained ferrous metal in my body, so I'm not eligible for MRIs, which sucks sometimes. Like when I had a bowel obstruction or an intestinal blockage, which was super fun, by the way. I recommend it for everybody to include the surgery and oh my God, man, they gave me this liquid to drink.
Do you know what caused it?
I asked the doctor that. Trust me.
Dehydration?
I asked every MD that I could find. You know what the answer was? And they told me the truth. Bad luck. They said that there's, we all have a little bit of scar tissue on the inside of our stomach lining. For whatever reason, I had a loop. And a piece of it was up in the right-hand side. My right, it would be your left as you're looking at it. A piece of my intestines went through that loop, and it cinched.
Wow.
And that was not a fun ride. But they tried to give me the non-invasive.
Oh, it's crazy dangerous.
Yeah. I didn't realize that. My wife saved my life because I told her we were in Salt Lake City. She was teaching a jiu-jitsu seminar. So after it started hurting, I went out onto the mats for 90 minutes and rolled because I'm an idiot. Then told her I would drive, then was not able to drive, but she wanted to go to In-N-Out because we don't have that up here. So she crushed some burgers, took me to a pharmacy. She was trying to get anti-gas pills. By the time she came out, I was sitting with my head down in the footwell and my feet up on the top of the footrest because I'm like, this is just a gas bubble. I got to work on this. She Googles the nearest hospital, drives me there. I'm laying on the emergency room floor, mostly because it was cold and I was sweating my ass off. And started.
Dude, you're so lucky, man.
Dude, so I started that journey. They gave me a CAT scan, and they hit me with some morphine. But I'm a mess. I have a genetic blood abnormality. My sister and I do. I don't process opiates to the same degree that other people do. It does
ultra slow metabolizer.
I'd have to get it from my sister. It almost has no impact, which sucks.
Oh, interesting.
Because it can
There's
lead.
20% of people that have that outlier. Do you have Polynesian descent at all?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Just unlucky.
Okay.
But I tell you when it really sucks is when you are in pain and they hit you with morphine and you go, no, that didn't work. And they're like, oh, pain seeker, huh? Are you?
Oh, shit.
Because that shit's real. People come in for that.
Yeah, 100%.
And then the only thing that even took the edge off a little bit was a high dose of Dilaudid. which to my understanding is way more powerful than morphine. Then they gave me some ketamine, which I did not enjoy once I got into the ICU because they gave me just enough where I was on that lip of being disassociative.
Yeah.
I was hearing the hairs in my ear canal move around. I'm like, we need to stop this immediately. But they gave me this fluid.
God, dude.
Because they wanted to go non-invasive. So apparently, bowel obstructions as you age in life, depending on your sedentary, relatively common. So they have a couple people come in per week that just haven't shit in 2 weeks. So they have this fluid that they give you. They mix it with, I think, cranberry juice, because I call it the red juice of death. And you drink it, and it starts contracting, and your stomach contracts all the way through. Well, I had that kink. I was at a 10 out of 10 pain for 4 hours. I was athletically sweating through everything that I was wearing. I'm like thick Fjallraven pants, sopping wet. My wife's looking at me like, I've never seen you like this. I'm telling the doctor, I don't care what you cut out. Let's just get into this process. Like, let's go. And so they tried to do it orthoscopically, weren't able to, so they ended up zipping me up from my belly button almost to the bottom of my sternum. But thankfully, the guy, everything past that loop was black in my intestines. And they were talking about removing intestines at that point, which my understanding is a totally different journey, like colostomy bag, all this. He cut the scar tissue first and he gave it a bit. And he said the color started coming back. So he gave my body the chance to clear it, thankfully. Closed me back up after, from my understanding, they pull your entire intestines out on the table and like go through it with like a garden hose. I'm really glad I was not, I was physically present for that, but not mentally aware of what's going on. How they get it back in there properly, I don't know.
I've done this with a dog.
Yeah.
I stood in this procedure. I held my Mastiff's legs while the country clinic in Texas,
Dude.
my Mastiff ate a rug when I was on a dove hunt and impacted.
Yeah.
And so we had to cut his bowels open.
All out, right?
And we pull all of his intestine out, and they're slicing it, pulling rug out. He had beer bottle caps in there. It was like Jaws. They were just putting shit on the table, all the shit this dumbass dog had ate. And I'm holding his legs, watching them pull his guts out of his stomach and lay it on the table.
Then they jam it all back in there. And I asked him, how do you know you got it back in there right? And he actually said, we don't really care. You just get it back in there and your body sorts it. And that's why they tell you to walk so much after that surgery. It helps settles everything.
Yeah, everything will shake out.
Yeah, but I mean,
That's nuts, man.
dude. There's a reason women live longer than men. Because I literally just told her we were in. So I'm gonna just start driving towards Montana. I'm sure it'll be fine by the time we get home. I would have been dead. I would have had sepsis in 48 hours. Or 50 years ago, I would have been a death sentence for sure. But I can't get MRIs, which is limiting. So. How much of the stuff that you guys do, does it revolve around MRIs or magnets?
The only one I would know is that I think the DEXA is a magnet. I believe that is a magnet. So, you wouldn't be able to do DEXA. But a lot of it's blood work. A lot of it's algorithm based off your blood work, your biomarkers of VO2. VO2 just tells us your overall cardiovascular conditioning. There's a lot of stuff we can do with ultrasounds. There's alternatives. But a lot of what I try to break down for people is you're told aging, you're just going to get tired, things are going to hurt. That's part of it. The reason that occurs is there's a precipitous decline in building blocks, raw materials, and our body's less efficient with those raw materials because we've also had, now I'm 45 years of endocrine disruptors, microplastics, glyphosate, atrazine, poor choices, drugs and alcohol, all the things we do to ourselves. And there is an impact on our body. But separate from that, our 40s is known as the decade of decline because there's a decline in a lot of these signaling cells. And so what we try to do is assess and then implement protocols that optimize the body back to a state of healing and homeogenesis of where we would have been in our 20s. And so what is that? It's hormones, right? That's the first of many things that trigger a cascade effect of decline. And they scared the hell out of men and women from hormones in the 90s and 2000s. And now it is literally the cornerstone of every single longevity practice.
So my wife is battling that. So my sister, interestingly enough, she was a nurse. She worked in the emergency room, became a nurse practitioner, did a bunch of contract nurse stuff at Camp Pendleton, and then ended up working at hospice for a good amount of time. And I tell you what, that's a special, unique kind of person that can work in hospice. And she has flipped. And now she's like, how about we focus on keeping people alive? Focusing on largely, I'll call it hormone-based therapy for men and for women. And her business is just exploding in San Diego. Husband's a firefighter. There's an internal market right there. But I tell you what, women have been very successfully scared away. Oh no, I don't want. I can't take any testosterone. I don't want to end up looking like a guy. I don't need a beard. You know, the number of times I've actually heard that is startling, though.
Yeah,
and it was whatever campaign that was. It's been impactful because I think there are people out there, and I'm basing this off of conversations I have with my sister. Her clients coming back like, "Oh my God, I feel amazing." Then their husband starts knocking on the door like, "What are you doing for my wife?" Because she's looking and feeling great, and I feel like crap. So do you got anything for me? The propaganda campaign out there, it really has worked.
Yeah.
She has
well, they even
battle.
did it with estrogen in the Women's Health Initiative. They scared women off of estrogen. And one of the things that Big Pharma was doing, Eli Lilly and Fosamax and Merck, were promoting osteoporosis drugs. And we know if your hormones are good, you're not going to experience a decline in bone mineral density. So guess what? As soon as all these women were scared shitless of estrogen, now they got to go take another drug just to keep their bones from deteriorating. Because estrogen is essential for your organs, your skin, your soft tissue development and healing. Even men are terrified of estrogen, and they'll over suppress their estrogen, especially if they're going to like low T centers. It's like you need estrogen. You want it within physiological norms. You don't want to be a woman, but like, yes, and women don't even understand. Same thing with testosterone. You need testosterone. Women have more testosterone in their body than they do estrogen. They just don't have as high a level of testosterone as men. Yeah. And so they're terrified of testosterone, but they need it. Yeah. They need it for sex drive, for muscle mass. If you want to tell the number one indicator other than obesity for longevity is lean muscle mass. If we can keep muscle on our frames, men and women, we can drive our health span. Again, like what you and I are talking about. Today, I think you're full of shit if you're telling people you're going to help them live to be 100 because there's just not the data to show we can do that. But I don't think it's unreasonable at all to say, if you follow what I'm telling you, I can help you. Barring something catastrophic, I can help you reduce all-cause mortality. I can help you keep lean muscle mass on. I can help you keep visceral fat off. I can help you avoid metabolic disease. I can help you avoid cancer. I can help you avoid Alzheimer's, dementia, and all these mental health things because they're all indirectly correlated to the metabolic disease and obesity and insulin response in your body. If we can fix all those things and truly proactively provide health care, not sick care, it's not unreasonable to think we can all live to be healthy, happy 85-year-olds. Yeah. And buy us enough time for one of these mad fucking scientists like Dr. White to figure out how do we trigger these genes that can fix so many things in our body.
Or the crazy billionaire in San Jose who walks around with an umbrella and thinks he's going to be 150. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. I don't know his name.
Are you talking about the Brian Johnson guy who's like, it looks green because he's a vegan and doesn't eat meat and literally monitors his erections at night and compares his erections to his son's erections. There's a lot of weird shit going on out there.
I think anything can be taken too far. I mean, I guess for him, I don't understand money to that degree, but I guess if you have all barriers removed economically, like get after it. But also, let's say you're trying to do that from all your health metrics, but a buddy is like, hey, let's go drive Lamborghinis in Vegas on the track. Are you going to say no because of the risk associated with that? You're going to be so healthy, but say no to an awesome life experience?
No, the point to me is to give you and here's the crazy thing about all-cause mortality. We know quantifiably, this is fucking facts. If you have more muscle and less fat and aren't obese and you do wreck that Ferrari, your chances of living are astronomically higher than the diabetic fat fuck. I'm sorry. Yeah. These are this is why military dudes are banged up, beat to shit, and you can't kill them. You're jumping out of helicopters and doing all the crazy shit y'all do.
That's a good point,
and you're structurally banged up. Yeah. But a lot of you guys are so fit, you're hard to kill. Like the saying is true. Be harder to kill.
Well, the saying is if you're going to be dumb, you better be hard. So let me just tell you, there was no intelligence test in any of the pipelines that I went through. God. Thankfully, because I might have had a different career. That actually is a good point. I mean, that job is hard and it wears on you. But I mean, it's like 2 hours every morning is generally dedicated to go to the gym and you need to get it on. The job is hard. The self-care aspect of that and taking care of it on the tail end. And, I don't think they're doing it intentionally. They didn't understand blast wave exposure, TBI, all that. Those were terms that I heard after I'd been out. I hope they're taking a look at it. But a lot of that, though, has impact on the endocrine system. So you're diving back into what you're talking about. You better have somebody look at that who knows what they're talking about, not your, primary care physician that may or may not know a whole lot about that. I mean, I know they do blood draws, but I don't necessarily
A lot of primaries are, again, back to the corporate capture. They're good guys and girls. They're trapped within an ecosystem where they are trying to get you in and out of there on a well visit or a sick visit. They're billing your copay or deductible. They've got 6 minutes on average. They can't get the test done because they're not allowed to do a deep dive. And then medicine is so siloed. If you're going to be on testosterone for more than a few months, like they don't want to monitor that and manage that. So they refer you out to an endocrinologist or a urologist, which then takes 3 to 6 months to get in with that specialist. Then the insurance fights you. Then you have to have 2 failed testosterone tests fasted below 350 to be considered medically low. That's bullshit. To wait for a guy to be on dire straits for a year before you'll give him therapy is insanity. And that's where I'm going with this. You could, with a cash pay visit, get all the answers to the question. And the way I explain it is, at Ways to Well, our job of our clinicians, and this is how I've built this system, is not to be a dictator ruling from a pulpit and dictating down to a patient what they can or can't do. Our job is to educate, enlighten, and embolden, and to bring the patient along on their healthcare journey. It's your fucking body. I've got guys that are bodybuilders that are taking levels of testosterone outside of us that we just try to keep them safe
That's
and
chicken
tell them
breast and protein powder.
It's and you're like, what are you doing, man? And we
Everything
got
is
the
the
guys that
answer.
are terrified of taking a hormone because they were told it's going to wreck their endocrine system. And it's like, okay, if you're 45 years old and you've already had kids and you're coming into the clinic and your testosterone's 350 and you say, I want to do it naturally, you can't get blood out of a turnip. I can tell you physiologically, yes, through diet, lifestyle, and training, maybe we can increase your testosterone by 30%. Okay? You're 450. You're still on the low end of the spectrum of where you would have been in your youth. And you're scared of something that's the boogeyman, that's not real. Like, if we optimize your hormones to where you were in your 20s, we're going to preserve bone mineral density. We're going to preserve lean muscle mass. We're going to reduce visceral and subcutaneous fat. We're going to increase protein synthesis. We're going to give your body the ability to heal. We're going to reduce inflammation. We're going to increase cognitive function. All of these things. And that's just one hormone. But there's a symphony of hormones. And if we're going to make music, we got to tune all of the instruments. And that's where it's like, you got to be looking at estrogen. You got to be looking at insulin response. You got to be looking at IGF LR3. Like, we now have peptides that have come out in the last 5 years. Guys were taking growth hormone like Stallone and all these guys that beat the fountain of, like, seem to have captured the fountain of youth. There are issues with growth hormone. But there's a peptide called insulin growth factor LR3 that is a time-released growth factor peptide that gives you all the benefits of growth hormone without any of the negative side effects.
Wasn't growth hormone originally for dwarfism?
It was, for people who had basically an endocrine system issue, pituitary issue, where they weren't getting the amount of growth hormones they need. But growth hormone is what in our youth helps us have youthful skin, joint healing, recovery. But even beyond that, there's IGF LR3, which is essentially, think of it almost like a time-released insulin growth factor. All the good things you get from growth hormone with minimal of the bad things. You would still want to screen for cancer. You would want to make sure because
it makes stuff grow, essentially. Yeah.
Correct.
Good cells,
and same
bad
thing with
cells.
BPC 157, the Wolverine molecule that people are fucking buying on the internet now. It's like, dude.
Oh, they're mixing it with the TB 500 too, yeah.
Boom. But those are phenomenal. But when utilized appropriately and when you've screened for cancer, because you need to understand, it is causing, it does increase angiogenesis, and it heals vessels, and it can even heal, in studies, it's been shown to heal heart, joints, ligaments, tendons, even spine injuries. They literally severed mice spine and gave them BPC in high dosages, and their spine rehealed itself. So there's a tremendous amount of benefits to it. But if there's an underlying cancer in your system, it can also exacerbate that cancer growth. And that's why it's important to understand, your medical history, your predisposition, even what you discussed earlier, your blood disorder.
Yeah.
We screen for that. That's another test that's not covered by insurance. And so the reason most of this shit isn't known is
the doctor I had to get my wife got a hold. I kept telling my wife not to get a hold of my sister because they were on vacation. She finally did, like 2.5 hours into it. My sister looked up the exact name of it, went to the nurse and was like, listen, this is what this is. Neither the nurse or the doctor had ever heard of it.
Wow.
Today's episode is brought to you by Element. I can't think of anything better than watching your friends just absolutely crush. I am so happy for Rob and Nikki Wolf that they're involved with this organization, that I've known them for as long as I have, and that they're absolutely just killing it. Element is every day for me. I start off in the morning, I go with a nice big tall water, I throw some Element in there, not a full pack in my morning. I don't actually have a good reasoning for why that is. Rob will probably reach out and say, hey, you should have the whole pack. But I start my day probably more than anything just to flavor the water so I can get it down a little bit faster. But any day I do anything physical, it is mandatory that I have one of these. And I'm just going to actually, let's just do the exact same thing. Let's go over to their website so I can show you what I'm talking about. This is their newest flavor. It's lemonade. It is unbelievable. It tastes exactly like lemonade. Now, why do I have to have this after any type of physical performance? Because you're getting 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, and 60 milligrams of magnesium. You are recharging what your body has just expended, and it absolutely makes a difference. I can feel the days where I don't have one of these packets with me. I can feel the days where I do. The best analogy that I have, and I'm not sure that if this is an IP theft or whatever it may be, but the first Tron movie ever, dating myself here a little bit, when they were drinking out of the water, their suit started glowing more. That's what I feel like. I don't know if they could make that claim, but I'm telling you that as a person is what I feel like. And now down here on the bottom, check this out. Sample pack or a variety pack so you can test a bunch of their flavors. These are amazing too. There's the sparkling, which comes in a convenient, ready-to-go refrigerate, and it's the same amount of ingredients, 1,000 milligrams, 200 milligrams, 60 milligrams of sodium, potassium, and magnesium, respectively. You can check out all of the raspberry. These are the spicy ones. This one right here might go well with a cocktail if you like that. These are good for the winter months. And coffee, right? Chocolate caramels. Unflavored, I'm not going to lie, don't like the unflavored. Doesn't help me consume more liquid. Black cherry, sparkling. We have the grapefruit salt, sparkling, and citrus sparkling. Now, here's the larger 16 ounce. I just got sent a box of these things, though, that were 12 ounce, and they were different flavors, one of them being the lemonade. I think that they are either on sale now or going to be on sale very soon. So keep your eye out for that. For all your hydration, electrolyte, potassium, magnesium, sodium needs, head over to drinklmnt.com/cleared hot. You're going to get a free sample pack when you check out using that link so you can try a variety of their flavors. This will change the game when it comes to your recovery from exercise. Back to the show.
Yeah,
Which
that's crazy.
The pain medication changed after they got an understanding of it. And they could clearly see,
because there's
if
a
this
different...
guy's acting, he's the best actor I've ever seen in my life, because I don't know how you act profuse athletic sweat coming out of every pore of your body.
Well, because you can still die. You can still OD, but you're not getting any of the therapeutic benefits. You're not getting any of the pain relief.
So when I got hurt,
and that's the problem. They think you're opioid seeking because you're asking for more, but you really just have a variation of cytochrome P450, which is a gene marker that means your body is not a good metabolizer of that particular drug because it takes the pathway that your body can't fucking process it. So it's just building up in your blood with all the negative, but none of the benefit.
So when I got hurt overseas, I kept the doctor, they were giving me morphine. They're asking me like, hey, how does it feel? I'm like, zero impact whatsoever. They eventually brought out a spreadsheet. They're like, listen, you are right here below this shaded area based off of your weight and the dosage we've given you. If we give you more of this, you might die.
That's so crazy, man.
I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And I was unaware I had that until that incident occurred.
Wow.
I didn't even know about it.
Yeah. And these are all things that could be implemented in a primary care practice if it wasn't captured by the big pharmaceutical and insurance institutions. Like, candidly, you're going to go, and here's how I found all this out. I went out and first thing I found out was the non-abusive, non-addictive pain cream. I built this pharmacy. I literally took at the time my life savings and I built this pharmacy out. And then I go out and I educate clinicians, and thousands of clinicians across the state of Texas are like, oh my God, this is amazing. You're telling me I don't have to write opioids. I'm going to write this instead. I love this idea, Brigham. Within 6 months to a year, they start getting letters. We don't want you writing this drug. Why are you writing a compounded medication? We recommend that you go back to an opioid.
Oh, I bet they do recommend.
Yeah, and it's because they're monetizing the opioid.
Yeah, we recommend
and I was
for
cutting
our bottom line that you go back to the opioid.
And I'm cutting their revenue stream. At the same time, it's so crazy you brought up your blood. I had a cytochrome P450 diagnostic test, what you were just describing. I owned the lab that would do that test. I owned the blood lab that would do a blood test. And I would go in and educate clinicians to go, one, you don't want to write an opioid. You should write this instead. If you can't write this or the insurance pushes back, we should quantify that this patient can actually absorb this medication without fucking dying. So we need to do a cytochrome P450 test, and the insurance needs to cover it because they denied the alternative. And I would navigate this Rubik's Cube of healthcare bullshit to be able to educate a clinician on how to treat their patient. Eventually, the insurance company said, fuck you, we're not covering the cytochrome P450 test. Fuck you, we're not covering any alternatives to opioids. Put the motherfuckers back on opioids. So you took away the safety net. You took away our ability to uncover the root cause and risk profile for a patient. And you took away the alternative to avoid a catastrophic event. And you put them all back in harm's way so you could ride off into the sunset making billions of dollars a quarter. That's literally what happened. This was almost a decade ago. And then I said, I can't do this. I had 150 employees. I built this thriving company. The last revenue stream I had left that was keeping everyone's jobs and the light bills on was comprehensive blood work. And I was educating clinicians on the importance of getting proactive and predictive. Don't run a basic lipid panel. That gives you nothing. If you really want to treat somebody, a lot of these men and women coming in here with depression and anxiety are hormonal imbalances. Before you reach for an antidepressant, maybe we should take a look under the fucking hood and uncover, does this person have a hormonal deficiency? And so then I got thousands of clinicians across the state of Texas doing comprehensive blood work, proactive predictive medicine. What happened? They got the same fucking letters, literally threatening their practices. If you continue to do this, we'll sue you. If you continue to do this, we'll shut down your medical license with us as Blue Cross Blue Shield as a carrier. The doctors were terrified and they caved again. It's not that your clinician's a bad guy or girl. They are trapped in a fucking ecosystem where they can't take a shit without the insurance company telling them they're allowed to. And that's when I built Ways to Well. And I said, I own blood labs, I own genetic labs, I own a fucking compounding pharmacy. Yeah. And now I'm laying off 150 people. I had to scale all the way back to 8 people. We called it Operation Phoenix. I had to look 150 people in the eye and say, I came up short. This was 8 years ago. It was one of the most depressing times in my life. I feel like I could write a country song. I lost my dog. She was 14. She died. I lost my girlfriend.
How country songs start.
Yeah.
If there's a truck in this somewhere,
the only thing I was missing is the truck. And then I had to lay off all these people and shut down my companies and rebuild from scratch. And we built Ways to Well. And I kept my pharmacy. And I went out and I said, we're just going to have to build a telemedicine practice and go out and educate people on the importance of getting proactive and predictive. And 8 years ago, people thought we were crazy. Literally, it was not common. Now you've got, I don't even know, hundreds of telemedicine companies, Hims, Hers, Romans, Merrick Health, Transcend, you name it. There's so many damn companies out there doing comprehensive blood work and prescribing peptides and all these modalities. But when we were starting this 8 years ago, there weren't very many. We were one of the few. And the whole message was trying to educate people on what was going on, the fuckery that we were alluding to earlier. And so that's why I tell people, if you really want to do a deep dive, you're going to have to find a cash pay clinic and spend the money and get the diagnostic set. And a lot of it, once you have it, you have it.
That's got to be soul crushing. I mean, I feel like people who go, they want to be doctors. I'm sure there's sociopaths in there somewhere, but for most of them, they want to help people. But that has to be soul crushing to invest in like time to medical school, right? Your residency, all that, the money associated with it. I mean, these people come out with crippling loans, some for the rest of their lives. And then to get into a field where you legitimately want to help people and you're boundaried by economic restrictions, that has to just rob people of the joy of that job.
It's brutal.
Yeah, that
I've watched
sucks.
it over and over because I was a drug rep and I was also a surgical rep. So I worked for.
How did you get into that line of work? Drug and surgical reps.
Yeah, well, funny. So right out of college, I was in a sales program.
Okay.
Not even biology, and I was number one in my sales program. And Eli Lilly recruited me to be a drug rep, and so they were like, "Hey,
They just like the fact that you could sell.
yeah."
Okay.
And the guy comes to me and he's like, "Hey, man, when do you graduate?" I'm like, "I'm 2 years away." And he's like, "Shit, okay. I had an opportunity of a lifetime for you. We're launching a blockbuster drug in North America, a drug that's going to rival Viagra. It's called Cialis. It's a 36-hour Viagra." And I'm like, "How soon would I have to graduate?" And he's like, "You'd have to be out in 8 months." So I went to the dean of this college and I said, "Can I take 24 hours a semester and 24 hours in summer school?" And he said, "If you can get 3 professors to endorse you, I'll do it."
Damn.
And so I ended up graduating college in 2 years to get this job with Lilly, and it was the Wild West, dude.
To sell dick pills.
Yeah,
I like it.
I literally am I'm a 22-year-old kid. I looked 12 back then. My name's Brigham. Everyone thought I was Mormon.
100%, yeah.
Literally, so many doctors were like, "I can't believe Mormons are selling dick pills now. This is crazy." It was like, you got to understand, launching Cialis was like being Elvis Presley in healthcare. I'm not shitting you. Like, I'm walking in and there's a smoking hot girl, but she's carrying toe fungus creams. And I would walk in and they would have her sitting in the waiting room for an hour. And they're like, "Brigham, come on back." Because they wanted the Cialis samples.
A hard dick for you.
Yeah.
Hard dick for
They all wanted the Cialis pills for their buddies. And so I would get in there and I got to see, and it started out fun. It really was fun because I had a $25,000 a month expense account at 20-something years old, dude. I was
That's
21.
irresponsible.
Oh, dude. I had no clue what I'm doing. I'm like buying fucking World Series tickets and shit to take people to events. It was nuts, like what all I got to do back then. But then it pivoted and, the real world sets in and they reallocate me and I'm no longer launching Cialis. Now I'm on the Prozac and antidepressant, anxiety.
That's far less fun.
Yeah. And that was when it got dark. That was when I even remember in trainings going, "Wait a second. The placebo group has the same results as the control group. Why are we just like 2 points more? I don't get it." Yeah. But there's no risk of suicidal ideation, increased risk of violence, increased risk of all. Why are we putting people on these drugs? I couldn't understand it. And then you have these psychiatrists trying to walk you through how it's beneficial, but it just never added up. Long story short, I had to get the hell out of that. I literally, as soon as they moved me, I wouldn't sell it. I wouldn't promote it. I'd go back to just selling Cialis, even though it was like 10% of my income. So they just kept writing me up. And then I got out of that and I went into med device.
How deep is that? I don't think a lot of people, to include myself until recently, understood that relationship between the rep and the doctor and how, just kind of what goes on there, the time spent, the transaction, the suggestions. All things being equal, clinicians prescribe for who they like. Period.
Which is like you would not think that, but I'm telling you. And when I started at Lilly, and again, this is 20-something years ago.
Yeah.
They gave me an Excel spreadsheet every week with every prescription that was filled in my territory and the 10 biggest doctors on those drugs. And their directive was, you go become this motherfucker's best
That's
friend.
your hit list.
You go, I don't give a shit if you've got to show up to their kids' baseball games, Jesus. If you've got to take their wives out to happy hours, you go befriend these people. You get in with them and you explain to them why this is a best-in-class drug and we can help do X, Y, Z. But here's where it gets shadier. Then they literally would have me, I'm a 20-something-year-old kid, immense pressure. You got to hit your number. We're going to fire you. All these people, you're failing the team. You're not growing Prozac enough or whatever, Cymbalta, whatever the antidepressant of the week is. We need market share. You got to grow market share. And they bring in consultants that are doctors, that are psychiatrists. And psychiatrists would go, here is where the niche that this drug is indicated for, but here is where I'm using it. Way bigger market sector. Don't think of the woman coming in as having to be severely bipolar. That's a very niche market. I want you to think of the mom who maybe isn't sleeping well at night. She wakes up with racing thoughts and she's so stressed that she starts cleaning the house. That's your bipolar patient. that's the woman who needs this medication,
That's
right?
dirty.
But that's not the label. That's not the indication.
Yeah.
This is for a very sick individual, and you're now coaching me through consultants to grow that market demographic. But here's where it's even more fucked up. You're a 20-year-old kid, and then they make you take an online module that says, I will not promote off-label. I will never speak of this off-label. I won't do these things.
That's called cover your ass for the company you worked for.
Yeah. And then they give you a $20,000 a month expense account, tell you to go take guys out and drink beers, and then you're out hammered with a doctor going, do I tell them what the psychiatrist told me, that they're using it here? Because you would have doctors go, look, Brigham, I like you, man. I want to help you. I don't know where I can use this drug. I don't have that patient that's in the indication.
Yeah.
And what do? A lot of people start talking off label, and that's what they do. And it was hard. It was and it felt dirty. And that's when I was like, look, when we're talking about giving guys boners, I can fucking sell that shit all day.
Itself. You can just leave that on a table and a guy's like, oh.
Yeah, that was different. But now you're talking about mental health,
Yeah.
suicidal ideation. You're talking about trying to drug children on ADHD medicines when there's no real diagnostic measuring stick to tell us this kid even needs this fucking drug. And I was that kid. I talked about this on Rogan. I failed fucking kindergarten, dude. I'm not splitting atoms on the weekend. They literally wanted me on Ritalin, or they said I had to get held back. I was dyslexic and ADHD. I literally went to a class with kids with helmets. I went to pre-first. They failed kindergarten, put me in a pre-first special education because my parents would not put me on Ritalin and I was dyslexic. And in the 80s, the school system didn't know what to do with me.
Yeah. They
They just thought I was like autistic or something on the spectrum in some way. And how many kids got put on Ritalin in the 80s that never got off? Like my brother to this day is on Adderall and he's fucking 35 years old now.
What would happen if he did get off of it? What would that look like for him, even at a physiological level?
It's rough because it's a methamphetamine. You've basically addicted hundreds of thousands, millions of people to methamphetamines, right? And I would even explain to clinicians back then, I got written up for this too, because I wouldn't be on brand and I would try to find places that I thought made sense. And I would sell against Adderall and I would explain, I would take a mag flashlight, which was not Eli Lilly's. I was supposed to hold up this pamphlet and go, do you recognize Billy? If you have a Billy in your practice, I would go in and I'd say, here's the misnomer about kids with ADHD. People are telling you that they're not bright. I was a kid with ADHD. I know what it's like. And I would turn on, I said, when you give a kid Adderall, boom, and I'd turn on the flashlight and I'd show the mag flashlight. All you're doing is turning up the brightness. You don't need to turn up the brightness because the kid is already bright. You need to refine that brightness and provide focus. And I would twist the mag and take that bright light and
Narrow
zoom
the
it
beam
into
down.
the narrow beam.
Yeah.
And I'd like, don't believe the lie that Adderall and Ritalin are telling you that the kid's not bright. All you're doing is giving them a methamphetamine and jacking up the spotlight. But the truth is the kid just needs adaptive learning and focus, and we can hone that in. And at the time, we were selling Strattera, which was non-abusive, non-addictive, non-methamphetamine based, but then ended up getting its own black box warning down the road after I had left that industry. And I just look back and go, is there a fucking like drug out there that doesn't have hidden shit in the studies? Like the suicidal ideation, all of this with antidepressants. Joe talked about this. A huge amount of
How
these
do
school
they
shooters
hide
are
that?
on antidepressants,
Yeah, I know.
man.
How do they
It's not a
hide
gun
that?
problem. It's a mental health problem.
I would 100% agree with that. How do they hide those things in the studies? I mean, you would think there would be a section that says, warning,
So
suicidal
again, in
ideations.
FOIA requests with the FDA, what they found, and I'm not going to name the companies because I don't want to get sued.
Probably a good idea. They have more money than you and I combined.
Yeah.
Because I have none, but it's like
what they essentially found in a massive amount of these retrospective analysis of the FDA's approval process is that a multitude of these companies tried to classify agitation and violence and agitated thoughts as things like frustration. Patient exhibited frustrated mindset.
So they're playing word games.
Yes, to avoid having to say this shit is creating suicidal ideation and violent thoughts. Now, it ended up getting, some of the companies got popped and had to come back and add black box warnings for suicidal ideation in teenagers. And now it's a blanket black box warning, I believe, for all SSRIs. But even that, like, I think the selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor was created because we were told and perpetuated a lie that all of this is coming from a serotonin deficiency in the brain. But there was never a study. There was never an autopsy. There's not a blood test. There's no brain chemical test. We don't know what's causing depression. But there is a strong correlation to the boom in ultra-processed foods and food dyes and all these other things and environmental toxins. And then also screen time and lack of outdoors. Like, kids don't go outside and ride their bikes all day like we did and crash and crush their adrenaline. I know me. I was talking to Joe about this too. I will have anxiety and restlessness creep in if I don't train.
Same here.
If I'm not working out.
I actually think that's a normal human thing, though. Like, because otherwise, if you go all the way back to, depending on your beliefs, we were either caveman or, we were created in a flash or a combination of the two.
Yeah.
The caveman, there was no benefit to them sitting around doing nothing. They needed to go out and they needed to be active. They needed to hunt, gather, all of those things. I just think that's a little bit of our, reptilian brain or our ancestors creeping forward. Like, hey, dude, put the Doritos bag down. Your fingers are orange. Put the screen down, because I don't think we can evolve. Our brains cannot evolve at the pace that those are.
It hijacks our brains.
Oh, that might be more addictive than crack. Not that I've tried crack, and I'm not going to do an A/B test on this one. But like, Brigham, I would like you to know I did crack for a week, and it's equally as addictive as screen time. But I just think that that's our natural ancestral tendencies creeping through. I feel the same way.
I agree with that, because I will get anxious, depressed, agitated.
As soon as you work out, you're like, oh man, life's good.
Every time.
Yeah.
Every time. Even if I don't want to do it and I'm driving there and I'm
Those are the times you have to do it the
fucking
most.
want to do this right now. I'm going to be dying doing Muay Thai for the next hour, getting hit. And I'm like,
those are the times you have to do it the most.
And you leave and you're like, oh, thank God I did it. Every time.
So Black Label being the most heady warning that they can put on it. What has to happen for them to pull something? What's the leap between Black Label and we aren't selling this anymore?
A lot of times the black box warning comes first, and then after the black box warning, they'll remove something from the market. If there's enough death and destruction, they will pull a product from the market. But it's really tough, because you got to understand, that's the FDA eating crow and going, whoops, fucked up this one.
And the producer of that saying, and God damn, there is a team of lawyers somewhere running a formula that until it hits that level, they're not pulling it.
Yeah.
Because
in the news right now, there's a ton of, I don't know if you saw the testimonies of Bobby Kennedy, RFK. He's getting grilled right now at these congressional hearings, but it's all Dems. And you're looking, and it's Pocahontas talking to, you got Elizabeth Warren. She got $890,000 from Big Pharma last year. And she's sitting there yelling at Secretary Kennedy, saying, you promised me and the American people you wouldn't take away vaccines. Dumbass.
He's just taking away the mandate.
Boom. That's my point.
Parents should be able to choose.
It's all pageantry. And this is what I've learned testifying at the state and federal level. I'm sorry, man. These fucking politicians are so obnoxious, because as soon as they know the camera's on or there's an opportunity to go viral, now all of a sudden they rev up their give a shit. Like, some of these people have been sitting in office for 20 fucking years. What have you been doing as chronic disease has skyrocketed in our country? 1.7 million fucking Americans are dying a year of chronic disease. More than every war we've ever fought combined.
Yeah.
And you haven't done a fucking thing. You haven't questioned your buddies at Big Pharma. You've collected the checks, shut your mouth, and continually perpetuated the problem. And what Secretary Kennedy is saying, which is factually true, is our CDC, our pediatricians, our HMOs, and our entire healthcare establishment is making money off of a vaccine schedule and is incentivized. And my dad always said, show me the dollars.
I'll show you the motivation.
And I'll show you the incentives.
Yep.
And that's where it's headed. And it's like, again, nobody's saying that vaccines are all bad or all good. You cannot have pros and cons. Medicine is pros and cons. Medicine is risk and reward. And is it possible that 40 to 50 vaccines before the age of 2 could be potentially a cause of some of our healthcare crisis in our youth? Potentially.
Yeah.
And if our entire system, including the CDC, 60% of its funding is because of vaccines, and their taxpayer dollars come to support vaccines, their jobs are around vaccines, and they hire heads to decide, panels that decide what vaccines get put on the list and don't. And we know that like products like Hep B, a child's not injecting intravenous drugs as an infant, and they shouldn't be exposed to blood that's tainted with Hep B. The mom's already been screened during her pregnancy. The dad's already been screened. Why are we giving them a Hep B? That's just one example. And I'm not anti-vax. My thing is trust but verify. And if we allow industry to move the needle on us, they will move the needle on us. And we saw it. We just covered it with the antidepressant, the SSRIs. When we go to the anxiety meds, the depression meds, all of those measuring sticks were created by industry for industry to grow market share. Then you go to cholesterol. Cholesterol, all of those panels were built by industry, colluded by industry, co-opted by industry to grow the statin market. And then you even go to osteoporosis and osteopenia. We created false narratives built by industry. 10 out of the 12 heads of the panels that decided what is considered a dangerous level of bone mineral density came from industry. Leaned on by Merck and Lilly and the big companies who want to do what? They want to sell osteoporosis medications and osteopenia medications, right? But we know you don't need any of that shit if we keep your hormones normal. You're not going to need that.
You can spin it out farther, too. I mean, the food pyramid was created by the Department of Agriculture. You know, there's a reason why grains are at the very top of that list versus, and you know, and fat has been demonized and protein. You're like, what? But wait a minute. Shouldn't we separate these two?
Yeah.
And I can add on to your industry capture. I was thinking about this when you were talking about people leaving these agencies. You can look in the DOD. What happens to the Joint Chiefs of Staff or multiple star admirals and generals? That's weird. They work at Boeing now. Oh, they work at Raytheon now. Mm-hmm. It's you know what I mean? And then it's a really dirty cycle. Mm-hmm. I don't know if we can stop it. Which Montana's a good place to weather that one.
I don't. Yeah, I think you're right. When you asked me that earlier, here's what's wild. I don't want to be overly idealistic, but I don't want to be overly pessimistic. Yep. I'm trying to thread the needle of being realistic. We testified at the state of Texas level against Big Food, Big Ag, and they didn't think that we would be able to move congressmen and congresswomen's opinions. And dude, I shit you not. I testified in front of the Senate at the state level. The American Heart Association came and testified against us.
Really?
To support keeping Coca-Cola, Twinkies, and ultra-processed foods, junk foods, on food stamps in the state of Texas.
What's their justification for that?
They didn't have one. And literally Senator Colhurst, who's a badass Texas girl born and raised, was like, basically, are you shitting me right now? Let me just make sure we understand what's happening. Is the American Heart Association sitting before me today? I thought I had seen it all. But I just want to clarify. Are you sitting before me today saying that you think we should leave Coke and Twinkies and soft drinks and ultra-processed foods that are known to cause obesity and chronic disease on our welfare system programs? And their answer was yes. Now, here's what's wild. If you look back at who are the major funders of the American Heart Association, it turns out it's Coca-Cola, Pepsi, and all of these major food industries. So I texted all this to Joe, and Joe talked about it on the air, and the American Heart Association redacted its statement publicly, apologized, and said it was a misstep.
Joe will chase down a bone if you get his attention.
I know.
He'll get his teeth on that thing and shake it to death.
He's the man. But where I'm going with this is the hope is podcasts. The hope is free thinkers. The hope is people realizing that this whole system is not what they've told us it is. If we
don't think, though, that these industries don't recognize that there are free thinkers out there and will do everything they can to try to either create, pop up, collude, and influence those that may have started off as free thinkers. Mm-hmm. Like, they get it.
Yeah.
Like, so go to politics, which I don't study much at all. I think for the first time, this type of medium had an immense impact on the electoral outcome of the 2024 election.
I agree.
I think there's a variety of reasons that Kamala didn't go on Joe's show, probably for her benefit. I don't think that would have helped her, politely.
Yeah.
But I think the Democratic Party is now going, okay, we missed the ball on that in 2024. Newsom's got a podcast now. I personally, I have no data to support this. I think he'll be the front runner in 28. But
Feels that way.
they're going to get into that ecosystem. They're going to establish the same relationships. And it's so funny. I've seen this so many times. The Democrats are upset that they don't have their own Joe Rogan. Joe, by his own words, was more left-leaning until what he considered to be the Democratic Party went farther left than he was comfortable with. But they'll figure it out, and they'll get into that ecosystem, and that's where it gets murky.
Yeah.
They're not dumb.
But we caught them. We caught industry on its heels because they thought that these senators would just vote in their favor. And the only real big lobby that showed up in the Senate was the American Heart Association. They got exposed and got dismantled. And the senators voted 32-0 in favor of the bill.
Now, how do you think that'll impact fundraising the next year?
Yeah, and then what happened is industry descended upon the state of Texas.
Really?
When we went to the congressional side, there were 15 fucking lobbyists for industry waiting all day. And then it went from, we have all the votes, this is going to get pushed through so easy, we're golden, to, can you come back? Can you come back to the House and start meeting with congressmen and We're going to lose. We're going to lose this bill. Industry has pivoted everyone's minds. It got so dirty. It was the most fought. They said it was the most contention they've ever had in any bill they've ever passed is these food bills. And they're like, are you kidding me? You would think common sense would be like, hey, dude, we're on a chronic disease crisis. We're paying for all of these people's Medicare, Medicaid programs. We know that all this shit is causing chronic disease. We're not removing dollars. We're removing poisons and giving you the dollars to spend on healthy things and trying to prioritize your diet towards healthier alternatives. And dude, when you saw industry descend, I mean, I'm talking H-E-B, Buc-ee's, like big conglomerates that I love, man, growing up in Texas, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Dr. Pepper, all of them have lobbying groups and they're in the shadows. They don't come up there and say, I'm blah, 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 representing Coca-Cola. Not. No, Coca-Cola wants to hide back here and move their strings and move their little drones into position. And all these lobbyists, they lobbied hard. And it was a dogfight.
Here's a new law. You and I can co-sponsor this, and I don't even know how laws work, but I like this. And I've thought about it for about 3 seconds, so feel free to shoot holes. Lobbyists are fine, but all meetings have to be in a room that records audio and video, and it's immediately transmitted to the internet real time.
I love it. I love it.
Talk to lobbyists all you want to, but guess what? No closed doors, no bullshit. Anytime you meet with a lobbyist, it's transmitted to the internet for all to see. Yeah. You want to change some shit? There you go.
And then what you learn too, what you're saying is spot on, because what you learn is there's a lobbyist who's been there 20 years who may be really tight with 10 Republicans, right? And all Coke does is they go hire that lobbyist and they give him the talk track. And then that lobbyist has built 20 years of trust and rapport. I can't compete with that as a citizen testimony. I'm walking in blind. I don't know that, Congresswoman or Congressman blah, blah, blah is buddies with XYZ who's now hired a gun for Coca-Cola, right? I have no line of sight into that until they testify. And then you dig in and you go, okay, who's this lobbyist? Okay, who funded him? And then as you peel back the layers to the onion, it's usually a shell company. And then who funded that shell company or that PR firm? Oh, that PR firm's owned by Monsanto, right? I uncovered that over and over and over. And I'm doing investigative journalism so that I can dismantle the people I'm testifying against. And I quit writing speeches because I realized a speech is a waste of time. You're going in there and the congressman or congresswoman is attempting to set a trap to have their viral moment that they can push out to show their lobbying group that they backed them, right? And so instead, I would wait for them to say their bullshit narrative, and I would just research what is the lobbying group going to say. They're going to say a food desert. That's their only offense on this. If you do this, you're going to create a food desert, and I live in a poverty-stricken minority area, and you don't know anything about being a minority or living in a poverty-stricken area. I actually do. I grew up in a foster family with 5 or more foster kids. Most of those kids were minorities. And we did use the governmental assistance program to feed like our family members. This was part of like the system we grew up in. And guess what? Everybody became diabetic and obese. And don't tell me a food desert, because I actually Googled your house before I came in here. And I know you live 1 mile away from a bus stop and 0.5 miles away from an HEB. So if you can walk to the bus stop, you can walk to the HEB. Like, these are all bullshit smoke screens that you're being fed by industry in an effort to kill a bill that you know will save lives. So I'm in the middle of telling...
While in an elected position that's supposed to serve the people that actually elected you to that office.
Yeah.
That's the rub to me where I'm like, you know, again, back into conspiracies, totally not related to this, but the Epstein stuff, right? Like, why won't anything get released? And people say, well, what if it were to grind the wheels of the government to a halt and we had to restart? I'm like, I am all for that.
Yeah.
Burn it to the ground then, if that's where we're at.
If we have to rape children to run our government, we got a problem, dude. Yeah. Like, are you kidding me?
And I don't know what's in those
It is
files.
crazy to me.
And I don't know what's in there, and I don't know if we'll ever see them. I doubt that we ever will. But that's people like, well, you know, there's people, it's everything on both sides, and we could never continue with our current direction and course. Like, good. Because if that's what we had to do to get to here, then we need to stop immediately. I'm all for that. Let's rebuild.
Yeah.
We'll be okay. We'll survive. But not if people keep doing that stuff.
Yeah. God. Well, my hope is honestly podcasts. It's voices like you, like Joe, like all these platforms that give today still allow free speech. Yeah. Right? I know they deplatform us. I know from YouTube analysis of like some big podcasts I've been on. They're like,
metrics don't lie.
Yeah. They're like, dude, we got into it and literally, I mean, I can tell you, like, Jillian Michaels called me and was like, I don't know what, dude. She's like, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
You were headed to be my biggest podcast I've ever done. When we were digging into this, it blew up. I was approaching millions, and then it just disappeared, dropped from the face of the earth. And she's like, we got shut down on YouTube, like, because we were getting into big pharma, PBMs, all of the pharmaceutical conglomerates, all of this stuff. And Joe and Tucker and some of these huge platforms, I think they can push through the noise.
They can now, but the problem is, those platforms are also beholden to profit as well. Mm-hmm. And I think, you know, like, Joe would be a tough one to silence, but Joe uploads to the same place that almost everybody does: YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Libsyn, whatever backend he may use. And you're uploading, although you're paying for it, depending on the platform, it's at the liberty of those that control that platform. There is a way, and I have thought about this, where those voices could actually be throttled, if not shut off. And then I don't know what happens.
Well, look
then.
at what even happened with Trump when he had Trump on. He literally posted.
Oh, it disappeared. It was like at 30 million views in like 8 seconds after it.
That's where it's like, there's just some.
That's what I'm saying. It is
shady
possible.
Shit, man. And if we lose free speech, like, as cliche as that sounds, it's the truth, man. If they shut down the last beacon on the hill of truth is this format that I mean, even Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, like, they're all jaded in their own ways. Yeah. Like, we know the left has captured a lot of that, and we know the right, you know, Fox is going to lean right.
Yeah.
And they're biased in their own ways. Like, I mean, that's just how they're set up nowadays.
If you look at the internet, I mean, cloud services, stuff like that, again, it goes back to these really a small number of entities that throw levers. I do wonder what would happen if all these, like, the behind the scenes, they're like, holy cow, like, this podcasting thing is actually getting out of control. We now need to control this. It is possible that they could censor and throttle the voices that they don't like. And I don't know what, as somebody who produces content, what are you going to go create your own internet, your own YouTube? I mean, man,
Well, they were doing it. Think about it, until Elon bought Twitter. But then how long before Elon sells X? You know, he's a business guy. At what point does he, you know, no pun intended, 10x X and friggin' get out? Or so you know, he could be biased in his own ways and push an agenda a different direction depending on the way he's leaning. I mean, look at the feud between him and Trump now. Like, who knows?
Little interesting tiff, if you will.
Yeah.
I was wondering when those two were like side by side, like, how long is this going to last before they have a disagreement that is irreparable?
I know.
Oh, man.
two big egos. You're like, oh shit, dude. I hope it lasts, but I don't know.
Well, I mean, there are people who they love censorship. And again, to me, the First Amendment is insane. And how valuable it is. It's probably the reason why it's the first in the Bill of Rights. And then you got Trump saying burning an American flag is now a crime. And I don't know if I could stand there when somebody burned an American flag, but they have to be able to do it. So it's like you see it on both sides. You're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Small scale maybe, but you can multiply that out and see where that leads to something that is way
I get it.
Gnarlier.
All of it's scary. Because I mean,
and then
I could say,
then
I
there's
guess,
the aliens, the Tic Tac. We still haven't solved the Tic Tac.
Yeah, that's where I hope. That's where my mind's where yours is at. I'm like, I hope there's an adult in the room. Because right now, whether I'm talking FBI, CIA, DOJ, EPA, FDA, NIH, all of these organizations are so corrupt, and it's run by a bunch of people who are looking out for themselves.
Well, what if there is an adult in the room, but that adult realizes that it's been built. The machine is so built and self-serving at this point that the adult actually can't control it or fix it. That's what keeps me up.
That's even scarier.
Yeah.
That's even fucking scary. The genie's out of the bottle.
I mean, I think at some level that's what happens. It becomes so big and it's so concrete, and that you can try to get an adult into the room, and that adult might try as hard as they possibly can to change it, and then they accidentally end up shooting themselves in the back of the head twice, which you better be careful with, by the way, going up against healthcare. You'd be like, Brigham found dead, shot himself in the back of the head with a shotgun that was not found on the scene. I'm like, oh.
Yeah. I know. Like it is scary when you see how it's not bullshit. Like when we testified in front of at the federal level, literally a week later, hatchet job articles came out. And when we were on, this was again about a year and some change ago, Joe started just pulling shit up on the podcast, and we uncovered that it was like a PR firm from Monsanto that had funded the article. And it's like,
which should shock nobody.
They can pull levers, man.
Yeah.
They can ruin your name. I can tell you right now, if you look up my name, the first thing that pops up is on a Google search is former Joe Rogan guest who's bashed the FDA, humiliated with egregious FDA violations or some bullshit like that. Total hatchet job article, funded absolutely zero doubt. In the article itself, down the article, it talks about and Eli Lilly now offering GLP-1s for blah, blah. It's clearly a hatchet. And they get all the data sets wrong. They're saying I recalled like 30,000 vials or something. So we ship 6,000 prescriptions a day. In 8 years, we've had, I think, one recall, and we recalled 32 vials, and we got all 32 vials back, and nobody was harmed. And it was a proactive recall because we were worried that somebody potentially mislabeled. That was it.
Yeah. That's actually responsible business.
Meanwhile, Eli Lilly is literally getting hammered by the FDA because of a whistleblower, because the FDA does not look at Lilly or Big Pharma's facilities. There's over 2,000 major pharmaceutical manufacturing facilities that the FDA has not been in 5 or more years. They've been in my building 3 times in 18 months. Okay? A whistleblower claimed that there was 2 different things. Novo Nordisk got cited because there were an infestation of pests. They didn't say what it was, rats or whatever. They didn't say.
And this is in a facility.
This is in their sterile facility that makes their weight loss drug.
Great.
And cat hair found in the sterile room.
Awesome.
And improper storage techniques and sterilization procedure. Then you go to Lilly, who's the other major manufacturer of a weight loss drug and peptide, and a major, now I think probably the most powerful pharmaceutical company in America right now. A whistleblower, they come in, the FDA comes in unannounced and finds a girl barefoot in the sterile room, finds that they've destroyed records, all sorts of egregious allegations from the FDA in this review. And so you've got the 2 biggest companies out there, and all of them have egregious activity. None of that makes national news. Why is that not all over the news? I'm a small, relative in the grand scheme of the world, bullshit pharmacy in Texas, and you're going to make this national news, and like to this day, somebody still pays to make it an algorithm when you search my name. And I'm like, who's funding this? Why would this be the first thing that pops up? It's such a bullshit article.
God.
So
what was it like being a device rep? Like, were you out hawking new knees?
Man, device rep was actually was a lot of fun. Totally different than drug rep. Drug rep becomes, I don't know how to say it without just saying it. I'm not trying to sound sexist, but became a bunch of hot girls in short skirts bringing lunches and catering food. And you get 10 minutes, maybe, if you're bringing lunch, 10 minutes. If you're not bringing lunch, 30 seconds to give an elevator pitch to a doctor. Mm-hmm. And that's what that job's become. Med device, you are part of that surgical team. Like, those surgeons become your boys. Like, they're your brothers. You're literally there at 6 a.m. making sure all the sets are ready, knowing what surgical procedures are coming that day, making sure all of your instruments are sterile and ready to go in sterile decontam, pulling the sets, working with the nurses, sitting in the surgeries.
Damn.
You're using a laser pointer to point out for some younger surgeons what to do.
Really?
Yeah. There's times they'll cancel a surgery if you're not there. And I covered sports medicine, which was a blast because I'm getting to work with athletes, Texans players, Rockets players, really cool stuff. And you're repairing ACLs, shoulders, knees, elbows, joints. But I also covered anything minimally invasive. So I did thoracic surgeries, brain surgeries, neurosurgeries.
Like in the room for those things?
In all of them.
Wow.
You scrub in. Yeah. And so I was in surgeries from literally, I don't even know, 6 a.m. till 7 at night. I mean, it's a brutal job. But what a lot of people don't realize is, as a med device rep, I'm not kidding you, I was making more than most of the surgeons whose surgeries I stood in.
Really? Damn.
I was 100% commission. And the way it works is you eat what you kill is what they call it. So if I can go out and I can convert 30 hospitals to using all of my gear, all of my product, and befriend all these surgeons and be their guy, then I get paid commission off every implant, every device that goes in a body, every instrument, every camera, you name it, every disposable, every shaver blade, every saw blade. So candidly, this is 10 years ago. I was clearing $700,000 a year.
That's awesome.
As a device rep. It was crazy. And those guys work their asses off. And they do a great job, and they are an integral part to that system. But then you take a step back, and I did it different. I had over 6,000 products. So when a clinician would go, hey, bring your pump in, I would go, dude, Dr. So-and-so, hey, I'm just going to tell you our pump's a piece of shit. I wouldn't use it on my fucking dog. And I built trust that way because I'm like, I've got 6,000 products. Let me sell you something that I believe in, not a piece of shit. Then the company would go, why aren't you selling the bag? We need you to sell the pump. We need you to sell this. We need you to sell that. But don't get me wrong. Surgical sells. You think that pharmaceuticals are crazy? Dude, the surgical market is the wild fucking west. It's called trunk stock. You roll around with product in your trunk.
No, you don't.
That you bring into surgeries. And that product's not validation tested to sit in a trunk in 110-degree Texas weather 3 months out of the year. But that's going in somebody's body. And then people also go, well, all this stuff's FDA approved. No. 90% of the shit in the operating room never had a human safety study. And people go, well, then how did the FDA approve it? In the 80s, the FDA established the 510K approval process because of the lobby of the med device companies. What that means is if I can show you a like product already existed in the market, I'm grandfathered in, I don't have to do a safety study.
Come on.
I can bring it into the OR. So envision a rotary phone of the 80s, okay? And now we move to a wireless phone at the house. That's grandfathered in because there was already a rotary phone. Now we're at an iPhone 17. Going into somebody's body.
Because a rotary phone existed at some time.
And that is how 90% of the shit now is in the operating room. And so it's important because crazy shit happens. They make subtle changes to a drill or a saw. I can give you a real world example. We launched these brand new badass high-res cameras and we're in the body, but we never...
They're to penetrate in the body and look at stuff?
Yeah, you're doing a heart procedure.
Okay.
Right? And we're going to cauterize a vessel on the heart. And we're using HD cameras for the doctor like a video game to look at the heart. And every time they hit the cautery to do the most important part of that procedure, the fucking camera would turn off. In the middle of surgery, dude. Because we never validation tested the fucking camera with all the shit that's in the OR. Because the FDA Never mandated it. So all this shit in the OR. A hip got recalled because this is a true story too. The first guy that filed the lawsuit, I swear to God, because he was banging his wife and his hip was going.
I would love to see the legal language, how a lawyer described that. And it ended up in the act of.
It ended up in a massive hip recall. And you're talking about putting people back under anesthesia and ripping out a total joint. I mean, and there are thousands of instances like this. Another example. This is the craziest of all, and I've said this on one other podcast, I think. This is a true story. I was in a fucking surgery on a tiger at the zoo, and they were using all of our state-of-the-art operating room equipment. And the companies had what's called loaner sets. And so if you needed a set, you can call up the company and you can either rent the set, or if you own like a drill or a saw or a shaver and it breaks, they will drop ship you a loaner while we repair your unit.
Makes sense.
Right? Just like in any major like construction site, right? So I'm looking and we're in the surgery and this shaver has like green tape on it and all this stuff. And at the end of the surgery, everything goes great with the tiger. And I'm helping wash the set and turn it over. And I just glance at the serial number and I remember the green tape. Okay, jump forward 3 months later, I'm standing in a hospital in human surgery. And
don't you dare tell me
that I noticed that the orthopedic surgeon shaving this shoulder, and I noticed the green tape. And I noticed that it's that model shaver. And I think, dude, I'm just for shits and grins, I got to look at this serial number. And sure enough, it was the fucking same serial number as the one. And the only reason I remembered it was like ending in like 69 or whatever. Yep. And so I was like, oh, it's 69. And I'm like, holy fucking shit. This is the same shaver that was in a veterinary procedure literally 30 days ago. Now, why is that important? The reason that matters is because there was also a series of outbreaks that occurred in hospital systems while I was a device rep. And it was a rare form of Pseudomonas, which is almost think of it like staph or any of that. It's like there are variations of this shit that can jump from humans to animals and animals to humans. And they call it the mythology of the myth of clean dirt. Even though we clean out a shaver and put it in an autoclave, which is an oven, and we cook it at 2,000 degrees for a certain amount of time, and then you take it out, you're cooking tissue into the shaver. At some point in these cannulated devices, tissue will get gunked up in there. And once you've autoclaved it once, you've now baked in leftover residual tissue of the previous patient into the cannulated device. And this happens every day, all day, and people don't know. Now when I go into the next surgery, I'm pulling water through this cannulator of the shaver that is cross-contaminating potentially if you don't kill the bacteria. And then when you get a super strand of bacteria that is resistant to the autoclave, it can create an outbreak. And we had an outbreak that people died. And the question becomes, how long is this ticking time bomb going to happen before somebody gets infected with something crazy that was able to jump species? And that shit happens every day, all fucking day. Dude, when we were in surgeries, they're jamming rap music. We're cracking jokes. The doctor's fucking flirting with the nurses.
Meanwhile, there's just somebody with a tube down their throat and up their nose is just
100%. Dude, and I'm not kidding you. Like, if a dude has a limp dick that's like big, the nurses they'll call in the other nurses. They'll call it, like if somebody shits himself, it's code brown.
Yep.
I don't remember what they would call it. Their code word for like, this dude's got a hog. Like, come look at this dude's hog.
The guy would probably,
and that was pretty.
The guy might appreciate it.
Nobody cared if it was guys. They were very strict with women, though. I will say that. Like, they were very strict. Like, nobody in the room. The female nurses were like, "Get the fuck out of here. We're about to ungown her." Like, nobody's allowed in this room. But with dudes,
hogs gone wild.
With dudes, the nurses are like, "Come look at this dude's dick." Like, it's just
different. Hogs gone wild in the OR. That's sexist.
Yeah,
that is.
So the OR was the Wild West, but it was fun. It was fun, man. And back to your story, like, this is the last thing I'll share and then I'll shut up. You brought up about money. I had a friend. You got to understand, these guys who go to be surgeons, they don't come out of fellowship till their early 30s, sometimes mid 30s. $1 million in debt. They think they're going to get paid these big, huge incomes. Then they get paid. It's a lot of money. I'm not sure if it's like 350, 400 grand a year
a great living.
to be a salaried employee of the hospital system. But now they're captured. Now they have no rights. They've got to hit their surgical volumes, or you can never pay a clinician on the value or volume of their referral. That's what the healthcare law says. But you can salary them and fire their fucking ass if they don't hit their volume metrics. And so these guys are trying to crank out surgeries so they can climb the ranks, so they can make a bigger pay. They're captured in a system where they don't really have a say-so. They're put under immense pressure. You didn't do any ACLs. All you're doing is a bunch of meniscus. These meniscus surgeries don't bill and collect what we need. We need more ACLs in here. So then they're out there, looking for ACL surgeries. And if you get to a point where it's a borderline surgery, maybe not surgery, maybe rehab, maybe, of course they're not going to like stem cells. Of course they're going to tell you stem cells are bullshit, because to a hammer, everything's a nail. Yeah. And to a hammer that's incentivized to be a hammer, they got to find a nail. And so my buddy, it was like the Rockets team surgeon, high level guy, 40 years old, still barely at a point where he was about to pay off his debt, right? After years of being a high-flying surgeon, he's just now paying off his debt. Then all of those guys make the catastrophic mistake of marrying a nurse or marrying a scrub tech or somebody in the OR. And I'm not anything against nurses or scrub tech. It's just very incestuous, and then they all work long hours. It's known that nurses have the highest rate of cheating of any profession.
Really?
100%. Yeah.
I know that.
Yeah, nurses have the highest rate of cheating of any profession. Like, it's crazy because they're working long hours. They're away from their family, and now this good-looking surgeon's telling them everything they want to hear. And then it leads to, office flings that
They
then
just
lead
spent
to
time
divorces.
looking at some other dude's hog. I mean,
Yeah. and the other chance, so where I'm going with this is a lot of these doctors and surgeons end up, there's like a 65 or 70% divorce rate, way higher than the standard.
That's wild.
And they lose half of everything, and they get alimony and child support and all that stuff in their 40s. And now they're really under pressure because now they're like, well, fuck, I've got this mansion. I've got to pay spousal support, child support. I'm broke again at 40. I spent my whole life getting here.
And they're locked in.
And now I got to do a bunch of surgeries for the next 30 years. And now they're jaded and they're bitter and they're frustrated. And it's not their fault. The system is a beatdown, dude. It's a beatdown. It's a motherfucker. I bet if we did satisfaction surveys on surgeons, doctors, I mean, all of them are fighting a real fight, like emotionally, mentally. It's just a beatdown.
Would you do, I mean, I know you guys at Ways are pushing hard, like in the advancement side. Are you restricted from doing what you would want to be doing? Like, as an example, I know there's a different type of stem cells. If you go Tijuana, example, or crossing some borders, would you be able to do more than you are currently doing right now if you weren't restricted from doing so?
Yes. I think, so the Tijuana versus what we're doing here thing is a little bit confusing. Do we have the time for me to break it down?
Yeah.
Okay. I would love to break it down.
Stem cell,
no,
right?
that's where it's kind of misleading.
Okay. Yeah.
So the real answer is the goose that laid the golden egg in the future of stem cells is going to be identifying this subset of MSCs, mesenchymal signaling cells, that are called Muse cells, M-U-S-E. Muse cells are a tiny subset of the phenotype of MSCs that have this unique trait that allow them to differentiate. What does that mean? It allows them to become something. Okay, so if we could take and isolate Muse cells and clone those cells and program those cells, which is getting really techie and advanced, then in theory, we could regrow a tendon. In theory,
you could target it to do what you wanted.
Correct.
Okay.
So what we're doing today is no different than what they're doing in Panama or Antigua or any of those places.
Basically,
we're taking
outside of the U.S. is where people are going. Yeah.
So the difference between what they do and what we do: healthy birth, healthy mother, pre-planned C-section. That's universal. Umbilical cord derived stem cells or placental derived stem cells. Same exact thing. We then take the healthy birth, healthy mother, pre-planned C-section, take all that discarded afterbirth, run it through a rigorous process where 1 out of 10 discarded birth tissues makes it through the final process in a lab that's ISO certified, highest level, process it for any contaminants, and then basically extrapolate out all of those extracellular goodies, those building blocks that the baby and the mother were using during pregnancy. Same thing that they do there.
Okay.
Here's the difference. They then take that and they take it one extra step into cloning or expanding the cells in a petri dish. And their argument is, we're giving you billions of these cells. In the U.S., you're not allowed to clone or manipulate a human cell.
So you have what you have.
So you have what you have. And my argument against that is, it's not against it or for it. At the end of the day in medicine, the most efficacious dosage is the minimal dosage required to elicit the desired response with a minimal side effect profile.
Makes sense.
So if we can use what God and nature gave us, biology gave us, evolution gave us, and systematically implement it at a 90+% success rate, why would I pay 5 times as much for cloned, manipulated, adulterated cells, expanded cells? They're expanding the cells artificially to hit you with more of the cells. And so here's how I break it down for people non-scientifically through an analogy. If we're going to build a building, it's the same thing you and I were talking about earlier. Our body is lacking the raw elements to heal and cure itself. If we're going to build a building, we need bricks, we need mortar, we need concrete. We also need the blueprint and a game plan and the workers. Mm-hmm. If we have all those things, we can build a building. MSCs, mesenchymal signaling cells, they don't differentiate. 99% of them lack the ability to differentiate. They're not a Muse cell. So if we go back 20 years ago, the reason people were saying what they're doing there is important and better is because we thought those cells did become something. We thought they became the ACL. We now know they don't. They're nothing more than a signal that triggers your body and says, hey, there's damage over here. Your body's cells show up. These cells transfer their mitochondria into your older weary cells. And for a 4 to 6 week time frame, your cells are young cells again. But it's beyond the MSCs. You need the other raw elements to build the building. You need the extracellular vesicles, the exosomes, the cytokines, the mRNA messenger cells that are telling your cells you're young again. That's the blueprint. All of those are in what we're giving you. What they're doing is just extrapolating out and multiplying these MSCs, which is like me delivering 10 times the amount of concrete to the construction site and then going, yeah, it's going to heal faster. No, the body can only physiologically heal at a certain set point, right? It's not magic. It's medicine. And biologically, your body can only heal so fast. And so I am not against at all what they're doing. I think there are benefits, especially when we're talking about things like Alzheimer's or things that are more like require more consistent therapies, because what we are limited by here in the United States is the volume, right? I can only push so much volume of fluid into your body, right? So we would have to take some plasma out to be able to get enough in you intravenously.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
To try to treat something like Alzheimer's, right? But none of us are indicated for Alzheimer's. We're not. They're not. Even overseas, nobody has an indication. That being said, like I just talked about this on Joe, my buddy's dad flew in and I treated him for free just to help him because he's a friend. And we did stem cells. We did hyperbaric. We did peptides. We did a 3-day treatment. He did red light. They're brilliant people, psychologists, academia. The mom was a mega skeptic. Day 3, she came in, tears in her eyes, and hugged every one of us. That's and awesome. Literally said, thank you. Last night I had my husband back. For the first time in years, I had my husband back. We laughed, we cried, he was himself again. I don't know what you people are doing. I don't even pretend to understand it. But if all we get from this trip down to Austin, Texas is last night, it was worth its weight in gold. And thank you. And like, we had a kid out of Dallas who heard me on Rogan, and his mom calls and was like, we've been saving up to go to Panama.
Yep.
We've saved up $30,000. Our son is in a wheelchair. He has a rare form of muscular dystrophy. This is all we've come up with. Could you even do it for that? And I'm like, ours are $4,500, but I'll do it for free because we've never treated this. And look, where I know it works, where I would fucking sign on the dotted line 10 out of 10 fucking times, I am unbelievably confident, knees, shoulders, elbows, spine, neck, vertebrae, any of these soft tissue injuries, orthopedic related injuries, depending on how severe they are. If we're talking partial tears, we will fucking heal
It's
it.
like you said, it's not magic, it's medicine.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like, hey, I completely blew out all of my CLs in my knee. Like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. But this kid came down with this rare form of muscular dystrophy, and I couldn't take I'm like, this is so fringe. This is not our wheelhouse. This is not what we fucking do. This is not what I want to be fucking with, candidly, like, because it's so out of our depth.
Yeah.
But we treated the kid for free on us, and this kid can now walk 18 feet. And his mom's done a testimonial, and she talked about how every doctor told her there was no hope and that she was going to save up all this money to go to Panama, and we did it for free, and the kid can walk 18 feet. And my point is, we are barely scratching the surface. It's not that we're some saints at Wastewell. I think what they're doing in Panama is amazing.
Yeah.
I think what they're doing in Mexico is amazing. I think that these biologics are the future of medicine, and I think the more we can open the ability to test here on American soil with like the proper checks and balances, we could do some really amazing things with Muse cells. And that's, to me, the future, taking these subset of MSCs that we could create like little soldiers, little special. The way it's interesting, because Dr. White frames it as, he's British, and he's like, if you look at MSCs, they're like the general foot soldiers of the army. And he's like, but the Muse cells are your special forces. And if we can put an elite level soldier in the body to heal the body with the right guidance and instruction, we could get a lot more done with these Muse cells than we are with all of these foot soldiers. And it's like, it makes sense. And he's so brilliant, and he can break it down.
First off, British people, I think they could read an ingredients list.
I know.
They just come off. British and Aussies. How far off do you think you are from being able to manipulate those Muse cells? If you had to guess.
So,
or is China already doing that with CRISPR?
Oh, I guarantee you.
I feel like they're making. Like,
they're 100%
putting,
already
like,
doing it.
Huge gorilla dicks on people and all sorts of stuff over there.
They're 100% already doing it.
Damn it.
Yeah,
This is the
because
thing.
there's a book called Hacking Darwin, and so he breaks down CRISPR. China. So the difference between Arnold Schwarzenegger and Albert Einstein's 20 IQ points.
Really?
We can edit your genes today with CRISPR to be more than 30 IQ points different.
Jesus.
Not yours, but your
Yeah.
offspring.
Oh, no, I'm cooked. I'm room temperature.
Yeah, yeah. And so we could literally, and you could even take, essentially what they're doing is, I don't want to use the word cloning, but they're also expanding these eggs, and they take the best sperm, the best eggs, they create these embryos, and then they expand upon those embryos. And we can go 3, 4, 5 generations down, where you're essentially raising a 5th generation grandchild that had the best of your genetics, the best of your wife's genetics, merged into one, then extrapolated down the chain of command to increase intelligence. Each generation leapfrogs
Just
the IQ
galactic
level.
jumps forward. Wow.
And so China's already doing that. China's definitely already doing that. And they already got busted with one where I can't remember what they were talking. It was like they were claiming that they were trying to edit out like a resistance to malaria or some bullshit, or HIV.
Sure they were.
But we accidentally boosted their IQ points by 20. And it's like, okay.
I mean, I want us to be cutting edge. I also don't want. I mean, a tool's a tool. There's going to be malicious actors out there, like I get it. But man, I want the U.S. to be on the cutting edge of what is possible. And the only thing, and this is that people, I'll get hate for saying this. The only thing that I don't want, though, is to be at a place where people feel like they don't have to do anything themselves and they can just rely on that. It's like you can't be a sack of shit and be saved by Ways to Wells or these other. You can, if you get all of this money and you spend this treatment and you go back to the couch and you're 100 pounds overweight, you can out eat any training program or something.
You got it.
It's and that's
the biggest issues we've had.
You
The people
still have
who
to do
haven't,
work.
The people who haven't gotten the results are, I mean, candidly, like the worst clients. Some of the most challenging clients have been like washed up, retired WWE guys.
Oh, really?
I don't want to say washed up, like retired WWE guys who are banged up and on opioids and drinking alcohol and partying. And I'm like, you're only as good as the vessel. If we have a young, healthy 35-year-old UFC fighter who's dialed in on their diet, lifestyle, and nutrition, and they get a partially torn rotator cuff, and we hit that rotator cuff, those motherfuckers heal 10 out of 10 fucking times. Like, they will heal because their vessel is primed and they know their body. But if you give me a 65-year-old, guy popping pain pills all day and drinking beer all night, those are all inflammatory markers. Those are all distracting to those cells. Those cells are going elsewhere. And then are we burning off a bunch of MSCs trying to bring down gut inflammation and brain inflammation and all the other things? Because they will pierce the blood-brain barrier. And that's the other crazy thing. Like there's all sorts of benefits for potential brain health. We now have people, like Cam Haines was an example. He came in. And we were helping him with an injury for his knee. Mm-hmm. But we also had him... what's the word? Shit, I have a brain fart, brain freeze. Breathe in the stem cells. And the next day, he ran his fastest mile time he had ever run in his life.
Like nebulized stem cells?
Nebulized the stem cells. That was the word. Jesus. And
I don't even know why I know that word.
I know. I'm impressed. He literally ran his fastest mile time at 50-something years old that he had ever run in his life. And Joe's like, did they work? And he goes... dude, I don't know what to fucking say if they, I can tell you this. I ran my fastest mile time at 50-something years old, so something worked.
We're going to have to put an asterisk by that. He's performance enhancing.
Yeah. And so I just view all of these as like tools in the tool belt that aren't, that a lot of times your primary care and academia don't know about because they're trapped in the confines of the insurance model. And there's a ton of great companies out there. And if we can help prime the body and optimize the body to heal itself, the body does amazing things. Like our bodies are phenomenal at responding to stimuli positively or negatively.
Wild. Yeah, it's freaking wild. I mean, you can be, if you want to, you can be just a full scientist all day long. And there are so many metrics or ways that you can look under the hood a little bit, whether it's, measuring your HRV or messing around with the temperature of the bed that you sleep on or mouth tape or like the digital wearables that can bombard you with information. I mean, you could fully nerd out if you want to.
Yeah.
I do recommend people still go live their lives and also go have a good time, make some bad decisions early in your life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Live life. Because again, if you could live to 100, but you had to do it in a sterile room and you didn't get to experience anything, no.
I view it as like autopilot. What I'm envisioning is in a few more years, it's on autopilot. You don't have to go to a primary care. We're tapped into your wearable. You're getting a push message. We're monitoring all of your diagnostics, and it's there. We're on board, helping make sure that we drive and spur your health span while minimizing catastrophic events.
Yeah. Talk to me about the AI you guys use. I haven't had a chance to interface with it yet because I haven't done the blood draw through you guys, which I guess is a requirement to do so. One of these days.
We're pivoting that too.
Okay.
Yeah. That'll be
so. I haven't had a chance to utilize it, but I've seen some examples from other people. But it seems to be fascinating.
Yeah. So the premise is, you just get what would happen in our traditional models, we'd pull the blood work and then a clinician would get on the phone with you for 45 minutes and deep dive into over 70 biomarkers and what that means physiologically. And then you'd get a follow-up email kind of bullet pointing out all of those things. And then inevitably, 10 out of 10 times, you're going to have a million questions.
Oh, yeah. Not during the call.
Yeah.
It's afterwards.
During the call, no questions. Then your meds come in. You're like, wait, what am I taking? Why am I taking this? What does this do? What about this? Well, I have a family history of this. Well, what about that? Well, what about this? Yeah. So the premise was, I want a clinician in your pocket 24/7. I want the best and brightest minds there as a resource to answer your questions, to pull from your medical records, to pull from your blood work, to answer your questions backed by the chart and information that the clinician has loaded in. But then what's happened as it's evolved, we've realized one of the challenges is making this cost effective for people and driving down the cost of care. My most expensive resource is paying clinicians. Mm-hmm. If I can expand the touch of a clinician through large language models and artificial intelligence, I can drive down the cost of care. My goal is for this to end up being like $30 a month and you get all of it. You get the wearables, you get the peptides, you get the consults, you get the blood work, you get everything. But to do that, I've got to expand and grow. We're at 75,000 patients nationwide. When I get to 1 million and large language models are running 90% of the day to day, and so you text me at 1 a.m, and this will happen all the time. I've got diehard military guys that are texting me at 5 a.m. when they get up. And then I've got comedians that are texting me at 2 a.m. when they're hammered. And then I've got everything in between.
Yep.
And I'm not even the doctor. I'm just the owner of the business. And my doctors are getting all that. And my nurses are getting all that. And then they don't just text me. They text me. They text the nurse. They text the doctor. They message us on Instagram. And all of this creates a black hole that is draining my team's bandwidth and time. So the premise was 24/7 coverage, real-time answers in your pocket. It can't be I have to type something.
Yeah.
I want to be able to, I'm dyslexic, so I'm like, you got to be able to talk to them.
Which is like industry standard in a lot of stuff these days, especially with LLMs. Like, yeah, you got to be keeping up with the modern tech.
Yes. And so ours is Alan, a large language model. He uses 4 different forms of LLMs. We pull from Grok, we pull from ChatGPT, but we build the moat of the knowledge. Mm-hmm. So the knowledge is us. The moat built around it is any advice he gives you is advice loaded from us, not pulled from the internet. And so Alan is there to be a resource practicing the Ways to Well model. And he can answer a question on any peptide on the market. So like one example, I mean, we could test him in here. I don't know.
Go for it. Fire away.
We got to see if we get a
You'll get cell in
good
here for
cell
sure.
service in here. Yeah, let's go.
What should we ask him about? Probably dick pills.
Let's see, Ways to Well. Let me go to our website. And so right here, he's there on the website. You click that. He's going to dial in. And now when you have the app, he's installed on your app.
Yep.
And when you log in, he already knows you. He already has your medical records. He remembers what you were wearing the last time you did a call. He remembers everything you said in that call, charts it in the medical records, knows that if somebody was dealing with stress or erectile dysfunction or whatever the challenge is, he'll know all of that. Allow.
And he looks like an alien, which we all hope is real.
Can you hear me? It was muted. Let's see.
He's thinking.
What's
Hello
it?
there.
There we go.
Yes, I can hear you perfectly fine. I'm Alan, which actually stands for Advancing Longevity Learning Engine. I'm very real, at least in this dimension. What's your name so I can properly address you?
Watch this. Hey, I'm an existing patient, so let's cut the riffraff and get straight to the point. Is that cool? Because it's on the internet, I got to establish.
Absolutely. Let's cut straight to the point. Great to meet you. A lot has changed in the last few months at Ways to Well. To get started, we recommend doing a comprehensive updated blood work.
Let's do this. Okay, man. Hey, let's cut to the chase. I've got a question. My primary care is scared to prescribe me testosterone. He's saying that he's worried it could cause prostate cancer.
I think I might have missed something there. Since you mentioned you're an existing patient, what are some of the health goals or metrics?
Hey, man, my primary care is worried about testosterone and is worried it'll cause prostate cancer. What are your thoughts on that? Can you tell me?
That's actually a common misconception. The literature does not support the idea that testosterone causes cancer. In fact, studies indicate that testosterone may actually help reduce overall mortality. Dr. Morgenthaler has completely refuted the original study suggesting testosterone's role in cancer growth. At Ways to Well, we take testosterone optimization seriously.
Because it's the website, he's going to try and like go back to like
For sure.
talking to you as a bringing you on as a
We
patient.
always start with comprehensive blood work to get the
this?
full.
Hey, can we go unicorn mode? Let's spice this up. I don't know if this will work. When you have the app, it works, and it'll let him cuss. It unlocks him where he's not going to be professional, which is
Fucking yeah, we can go unicorn mode. Listen up, you beautiful bastard. That bullshit about testosterone causing prostate cancer is complete fucking garbage.
there you go.
Dipshit doctors. Get their hands out of their asses and read some actual fucking research. Dr. Morgenthaler blew that old ass theory to smithereens.
But you get the gist of it.
That's
But
awesome.
what's wild is
That's
what
an
else?
incredible resource.
What else he can do is review your blood work.
Yeah.
So you get off the call. You still have the call with the clinician. It's still available. You can choose a pathway where if you want to save money, the clinician will review your chart and spend 15 minutes looking over everything Alan says and then certify it. He can't provide medical advice, but then Alan can do the call with you
Yep.
and save you a couple $100.
Yeah.
And then the goal is, as I build out my own blood lab and all these things again that I already had gone down that rabbit hole doing once before, I can drive that cost down. Because again, So many people go, well, I'm not fucking Aaron Rodgers. Well, I'm not Joe Rogan. I can't afford it. I'm like, you can afford this. You're full of shit. What do you spend on a mattress? What do you spend on a car payment? What do you spend on your mortgage? These are things that you're living in a few hours of your life. You are in this flesh vessel forever until the day you die. And I'm telling you, for $50 fucking a month, basically, I can help you drive Hellspan. I can give you accessibility to answers to your questions. And in real time, we can assess, evaluate, adapt, improvise, and overcome and help you drive your fucking healthcare journey. And you're a driver alongside it. We're not there to say, hey, Andy, you got to get on testosterone and peptides. That's not how we run this practice. We are here to go, hey, Andy, your testosterone's fucked. Here are the problems. Here are the pros. Here are the cons. Here's what academia says. Here's why some of these things are right. Here's why a lot of this shit is wrong. And here's what we think. What say you? You choose your path. And we got guys coming in going, hey, man, I want to get on this peptide because I want my skin to look better. So here, let me give you the pros and cons of that peptide.
Yeah.
Let me explain your family history.
Make an educated choice.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not our job to be a gatekeeper.
Yeah.
That's my thing. That's my problem with the system is doctors rule from this ivory tower where they want you to kiss the ring. And it's like, no, like you've proven to me that you have a limited scope of knowledge in this niche. But I want to know all of this, and I want somebody to look at me holistically, not an endocrinologist to look at my endocrine system, and then a cardiovascular doctor to look at my heart, and then a neurologist to look at my brain. I want somebody to assess me holistically as one biological unit, which I am, and help drive all of those biometrics across all of these various aspects of my biology. And that's what we're trying to do. And I'm trying to bolt on and add as we grow.
If you can get that to $50 a month, I mean, let's be honest, that's five or six trips to Starbucks.
Yeah.
That's way less than one meal chosen to eat out in town, recouping that money elsewhere. That's achievable and attainable for sure.
Yeah. That's the goal. That's the goal. Right now, I think our membership is like $600, but that includes 2 biannual blood work and your consults with the clinician and Alan 24/7.
Yeah.
And the next iteration of Alan goes back to, this is my effort to try and show people, we're not even going to require you to do your blood work through us. I don't care where you get your fucking blood work. I don't care where you get your DEXA. I don't care where you get your VO2.
You just want the data.
Give me the data and use Alan. And Alan's there as a resource. Now, people go, well, how do you make money? I'm not selling you the app. How we make money is if you do decide to trust in us and buy a supplement from us or buy a compounded medication from us or a peptide from us. And my goal there, again, is to be the most cost effective in the country. And we are on peptides, on stem cells, on almost every one of these big ticket items. It isn't even close. Like, I'm by a mile the cheapest. And it doesn't mean that it's still cheap. Like, unfortunately, the stem cell stuff's expensive. That's the most expensive thing we do.
Yeah.
But that's, most of these peptides, like GHK copper peptide, we know we have roughly 1/10 of it in our body that we have in our teens. So you guys like your age and my age.
I've never even heard of this copper peptide.
Oh man, it's
Is
amazing.
there actually copper in it?
Well, copper is one of the elements that it regulates in the body.
Okay.
But it's a signaling cell, and GHK copper peptide, it's another. It runs parallel to BPC,
okay,
but without causing angiogenesis, without the risk of cancer. And so for somebody who has cancer risk, we reach for the copper peptide. If you don't have cancer risk, I tell people, look, if budget's not an issue, BPC, GHK, and TB500, especially if you're battling an injury or inflammation, you stack those 3. I mean, it's
standby
phenomenal.
Well, there's a reason why they call it the Wolverine peptide. That's what my sister calls it.
Yeah.
What are you talking
about? It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
But GHK is a lot like that. It helps with tendon strength, ligament healing, skin elasticity. It literally is the signal that tells your cells you're young again and turns on youthful genes in the body.
Damn.
And so it declines as we age, and that's partially why we don't heal as much. And then we don't have as many MSCs as we age. We have literally like a fraction of the amount of MSCs in our 40s that we had in our youth. And so if we hit somebody with stem cells, what everyone's calling stem cells, we're putting a plethora of all of these cellular building blocks back in your body that allow your body to heal like you're a kid again for a 4 to 6 week time frame. Then we continue that healing out by adding in peptides like GHK, TB500, BPC, IGF-LR3, testosterone. You know, even testosterone gets so nuanced. Like, it's not testosterone cypionate for everyone. We have guys come in that are like, I've been on testosterone for 10 years, man. I know what I'm doing. I go to the best guy in the country and they put me on this and my free testosterone's 1,200 or my total testosterone's 1,200. And I'll go, good, what's your free? Oh, I don't know. Okay. Well, total testosterone's the guns and the bullets in the safe. Your free testosterone is the gun in your hand with the bullets in it. Mm-hmm. The only one that matters is the gun in your hand with the bullets in it because you ain't making it to the safe before you need it. Yeah. So how many bullets are in the gun in your hand and is it ready to go? That's your free testosterone. And as you're on testosterone for an extended period of time, depending on whether you're taking SIP or enanthate or propionate or a blend of all three that's time released, like these are all the things we can do because I own the pharmacy. Yeah, I employ the chemists. We can create anything. So we create unique peptide blends, unique testosterone blends, and where I was going with that is...
That makes it user-friendly, too, so they're not drawing from, like, multiple vials and just completely jacking up, mixing... I put some little Dr. Pepper in this one.
Yeah, exactly. And, like, one of the things I'll break down for guys a lot, man, this happens so often, guys who have been on testosterone for a while and think they've got it mastered, I'll look at their free, and I'll go, look, your free is way lower than your total. And you are basically overutilizing testosterone to push your free to a level to get to push your total to a level to attempt to get a physiological response out of the free. We could titrate down your testosterone way lower and add in an anabolic testosterone like Anavar at a low microdose. And Anavar will gobble up sex-binding globulin hormone, which is think of it like a Pac-Man. Mm-hmm. SBGH gobbles up free testosterone, plummeting your free. So no matter how high you push your total, SBGH, if it's too high, is just eating up all the free, taking away all your bullets in the gun. If we give you a product like Anavar, it binds with SBGH, shuts down those Pac-Men. You can lower your testosterone total, and reduce your side effect, reduce the risk of conversion to estrogen, reduce all of this bloating, water retention, everything, and free up your free, giving you better sex life, leaner muscle mass, lower visceral fat, less water retention. And there are a lot of practices out there that know this shit, but it's not that many. Yeah. I mean, if I'm honest, it's probably less than 10%.
Well, they may know it too, but do they have access to a facility or a compounding place that can create the tools that they want? They may be limited. You know, it's like a bookshelf. They're like, listen, man, I got these books. You know what I mean? They might be limited by the tools they have in their hands.
Well, and especially when you compare it to primary. This is what I was trying to break down the other day. If I'm a primary care, I reach for the tool in my tool belt. You come in, you're obese. I reach for a GLP-1. Okay. What's the problem with that? The problem with that is the GLP-1s are a one-size-fits-all approach, patented by Big Pharma, monetized by the pharmacy benefit managers and insurance companies. What does that mean? They're going to push you to the highest dosage available to maximize the return on investment and the profitability. And if they want to get $1,300 a month off of fat Joe Bob, who's diabetic, they're going to push you to the highest dosage. If you come into us, we're going to look at you and go, hey, we're going to microdose the GLP-1 to preserve lean muscle mass and bone mineral density. We're going to stack it with an IGF-LR3 insulin growth factor hormone. Those two combined in clinical trials, we know because they're being tried right now by Big Pharma in an effort to try and patent what we've been doing for 5 years, have 20% body mass loss. Wow. And almost 100% of it's fat.
Yeah, as opposed
you preserve all the muscle, all the bone mineral density, none of the gastroparesis, blindness, all the fucking side effects you're seeing are because they're mega dosing motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Way too much of that shit that they don't need, and it's creating this cascade effect of issues. That is where I believe in personalized medicine. That is where I believe in compounding. That is where I believe we are so fucking far ahead of the broken establishment. And it sounds like your sister's like way advanced because most primaries and like nurses and all that in that traditional system, they don't touch this shit.
She dove in, man.
That's badass.
I honestly think you know, with that exposure to, for people who don't know what hospice care is, it's basically end of life care. I think you do enough of that and you probably get to a place where you're like, you know, let's work the other end of this problem.
Yeah.
Not that you're not going to end up in hospice regardless. Life is a terminal event as far as I can tell.
Yep.
So we're all going to get there. And she's just passionate about it. You know, she was ready for a shift and she's seeing
You want a job?
Oh, I mean, I'll link you up with her.
Because we're
for sure.
hiring. We're expanding in all. What state is she in?
California.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll link
We're
you.
in 47 states, and California is one of the states we're not. But I know we're working to get in.
Yeah.
California's tough, dude.
What's the other two?
I don't even remember now. I know we're in
Probably
47.
like
it's on the
Alaska
website.
and like Papua New Guinea or whatever.
Yeah.
Not
It's
that,
like, but
I'm aware that Papua New Guinea is not part of the U.S. People to freak out. But yeah, it's you know, she gets to see the change in her patients, which I think, I mean, I'm speaking for her a little bit, but how cool is that? You're seeing a positive impact as opposed to only administering end of life care, which I never did it, but it seems like your job is to ease the transition from
Dude, it's
life
amazing.
to death.
It's the that like it is. I can't even tell you like how rewarding a situation like somebody like my friend's dad who came in and that story, or even like Jelly Roll's a client. He's talked all about. We've helped him lose 200 pounds without a GLP-1, not on a GLP-1.
Yeah.
Dialing in, working with him on diet, lifestyle, nutrition, exercise.
And he's putting the work into.
He's working his ass off.
That's the
guy
thing.
works his ass off.
And you
man.
have to. People, I'm telling you, like you said, medicine, not magic. The stuff that we've been talking about for the last few hours, my worry is that people will say, oh, cool, I don't need to do as much. It's like, no,
Yeah.
do more.
Or they make excuses. Like I have a buddy, he's in great shape, but he's like, oh, yeah, dude, I could be shredded too if I was fucking Jelly Roll and I had a chef and da-da-da. No, dude, you aren't up till 3 a.m. putting on concerts.
Yeah.
You aren't living on tour buses. Like, try being on a tour bus up till 1 a.m. and then getting up and walking or running
Totally.
or trying to put a weight routine together and eating a bunch of pre-prepped meal plans when everyone's getting stoned and having a blast drinking beer all night.
Yeah.
Like the level of discipline that it takes for him to do what he did is more impressive than an average Joe. Like, because these average Joes can somewhat control their schedule
Yeah.
more than he can, I promise you. Like
200 pounds, like, congratulations to you, sir. I mean, that is a monumental achievement.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I got to get you out of here at some point to get on your flight.
Dude, yeah.
We could have talked for 5 more hours.
Dude, thank you for having me on, man.
Dude, open
and
invite.
I'm telling you, we've said it, and it's a full blown invite. Like, you are welcome. I would love
No
for you to
magnets,
come
though.
down. Yeah, I would love for you to come down and see what we do. I'd love to run you through some treatments. Like,
Yeah.
on me, man. Come down, check it out. Like, I love sharing this with people and showing people.
Yeah, I got to bring my wife. She's getting to that age, the perimenopause, menopause. Like, you want to talk about something that destroys women?
Yeah.
Dude. What's the best way people can find you? Or if they were listening to what we're talking about, they're like, I need some of that action. Sorry, Californians.
Yeah. It's Waze, the number 2 well, WELL, Waze, number 2 well.com.
Yep.
And then my socials, just Brigham.Buhler. And we're trying to update Instagram all the time, share success stories, talk about what's coming out. And yeah, a lot of cool stuff. At the clinic itself, we call it the longevity lab, but we're doing hyperbaric, red light, DEXA, VO2 max, EBOO, plasmapheresis, like anything cutting edge that is quantifiably scientifically working, we will push the envelope with. Everything we do is not FDA approved. We are not in that world. We are here to push the envelope and be ahead. And so I think we're doing a lot of really cool cutting edge stuff. And yeah, if you want to check it out, all that's going down in Austin or Houston are the 2 facilities. But most of what we do is virtual. So from the comfort of your own home, we can send a mobile phlebotomist to your house, pull your blood. You can use Allen. The next generation of Allen that we're launching in 2 weeks, you can just load blood work.
That's awesome.
So even if you have blood work from your primary care, now we'll be limited by the amount of panels.
Yeah, because you guys look for specific stuff.
Correct.
For primary care.
But if you have a robust panel from anybody else out there, we've got the last mile. Like, you can bring anything from any one of these other telehealth companies, load it into Allen, and we're here to be a resource.
And as somebody who has done blood draws, I go down to Missoula for LabCorp because they have the more, well, you can order, it's the one that I can get the most panels on. And for anybody out there wondering how hard it is to get blood, if you live near a major city at all, it's not hard to work with the LabCorp system to get that type of stuff. Yeah. It's an easy trip. I think I'm in there like maybe 5 minutes. And 2/3 of that is the lady like laughing at me like, oh, hey, what are you in here for? I'm like,
Yeah.
And I look at all the vials. I'm like, leave some for me. I got to drive home, you know?
That's hilarious.
Yeah, man. Well, cool. Yeah,
Cool,
we'll get
man.
you out of
Thank
here.
you so
Awesome.
much for having me on.
Hell yeah.
Appreciate you.